Thanks, John. Welcome to the Pennington County Planning Commission meeting of November 14th, 2022. Recommendations of the Planning Commission on certain items from this agenda will be considered by the Board of Commissioners at their regular meeting on December 6th, 2022 at 10:30, and that's an approximation. That's when that particular form of business starts. The Planning Commission utilizes speaker request forms, which are available in the commission chamber in the back during the meeting. And that still won't keep you from speaking. We do ask before we proceed on our discussions. Roll call. Everybody's here this morning. Jerry? How about minutes? Did everybody get through the minutes from the last meeting? And if so, Chair should address a motion.
I move we approve the minutes of the last meeting.
Second. Moved and second to approve the minutes of the October 24th, 2022 minutes of the Planning Commission. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Agenda. Have you gone through or had a chance to either go through online or go through your packet, Commissioners?
I move approval of the agenda.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve the agenda for the November 14th, 2022 meeting of the Planning Commission. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Let's go on to the consent agenda. Before you start, Jason, is there any clerical errors anybody would like to have corrected prior to Jason? Thank you. Go ahead, Jason.
Morning, Commissioners. Jason Fennington, Assistant Planning Director. The consent agenda. The following items have been placed on the consent agenda for action to be taken on all items in accordance with staff's recommendation by a single vote. Any item may be removed from the consent agenda by any planning commissioner, staff member, or audience member for separate consideration. The findings of this planning commission on certain items for the agenda are recommendations to the Pennington County Board of Commissioners, who will make the final decision. Agenda item number 3 is conditional use permit review 19-26 for Synod of South Dakota of the Presbyterian Church to review a church camp in a rural residential district. Staff recommends approval of the extension of conditional use permit 94-26 with conditions. Agenda item number 4 is conditional use permit review 00-65 for Joyce Metz and Kathy Littlebull as the agent to review a caretaker residence in an agriculture district. Staff recommends approval of the extension of conditional use permit 00-65 with conditions. Agenda item number 5 is conditional use permit review 10-38 for Robert Mills to review a home occupation and auto restoration shop in a suburban residential district. And staff recommends approval of the extension of conditional use permit 10-38 with conditions. Agenda item number 6 is conditional use permit review 18-15 for the Koenig Family Trust. Edelweiss Mountain Lodging is the agent to review a vacation home rental on the subject property in a suburban residential district. And staff recommends approval of the extension of conditional use permit 18-15 with conditions. Agenda item number 7 is conditional use permit review 20-20 for Larry and Diane Matthews to review a multiple family dwelling in a low-density residential district. And this item was continued from the October 11th, 2022 Planning Commission meeting, and staff recommends approval of the extension of conditional use permit 20-20 with conditions. Agenda item number 8 is conditional use permit review 20-22 for Mike and Angela Holmberg to review a second residence to be used as housing for hired help on the subject property in an agriculture district, and staff recommends to end conditional use permit 20-22. And lastly, agenda item number 9 is conditional use permit review 21-27 for Gene Rossman to review living in a recreational vehicle while building a residence and working on the subject property in a rural or residential district. And staff recommends approval of the extension of conditional use permit 20-27 with conditions.
Thank you, Jason. Any items that the staff would like to have pulled before the meeting?
No, sir.
Any items that the commission would like to have pulled before we commence?
5 and 7, please.
Item number 5 and number 7, Mike.
Please.
That's correct. Anyone from the audience that would like to have an item pulled for discussion? Hearing none. Chair to address a motion for those items of approval on the agenda.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I move we approve consent agenda items 3, 4, 6, 8, and 9.
Is there a second to that?
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve items 3, 4, 6, 8, and 9 on the consent agenda. Discussion from the audience. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. So we'll go on to item number 5. And we do, Gary, you haven't said in before, we do allow a question just to be answered rather than the entire presentation of number 5. If you have a question, Mike,
Yes, I
please
do.
go ahead.
Good morning. Not a lot here. This is a big building by the looks of the picture, this metal building. And is that the only thing in that building, is this restoration thing?
Yes, he had tried to do another business, but they just do the restoration, and then he also has a home on that.
Okay, well, I was just curious because it's pretty big. And the other thing, and I'm just curious, we have in number 7, existing conditions, 10,000 gallons per month. Is there some reason that,
Excuse me, number 7, did you say?
excuse me, number 7 on the existing conditions of approval?
Oh, okay, thank you.
The 10,000 gallons, is there some reason they use a lot of water, or is that just the standard?
I'm sorry, I was in another conversation.
Okay.
Can you repeat that, please?
The number 7 on existing conditions for item 5, there's, talks about if the sewer exceeds 10,000 gallons. I mean, is there even a question, or is that a standard thing for this particular district?
I think that must have come up when this conditional use permit was originally routed, and that may have been a concern that Rapid Valley Sanitary District had at that time, and that's probably why the condition was added.
That there isn't really now.
Mike, I can help you. I was on the commission when that came up. That is a request from the sanitary district at the time, and I believe they had a limit they had in mind in regards to the amount of waste that was going to be handled from that account number
Okay.
without further consideration.
Okay.
And they've been keeping track of it some way, I'm sure.
Well, that's why I was curious. Yeah. Okay, that's all I've got on that one. That was it.
Any other questions?
Number 7.
Then, well, I'd address a motion for number 5.
Chair, I'd make a motion to approve number 5.
Is there a second? Moved and seconded to approve conditional use permit 10-38. Discussion from the audience, from the commission. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. On to item number 7.
Number 7, just a quick question. Is this being rented now?
No, his son-in-law and daughter actually live in the upstairs above the garage.
Okay. I was just curious how that was. Okay, that was the only thing I've got.
Okay. Chair would address a motion then if that's the only question we had.
I move we approve CU 20-20.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve conditional use permit 20-20. Discussion from the audience. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. On to item number 10.
Good morning, Kelsey Roush, Planning Department. Item number 10 is a conditional use permit to allow a caretaker's residence on the subject property. The applicants are Leslie and Tina Wasson. Let me get the presentation up here. There's an existing residence on the property that is owned by Roxanne Reef. She is the one that will need care. Her sister and brother-in-law are the ones that would be proposed to live in the single wide that they would move onto the property. Let's see, so the existing main residence is here, the single wide would go here. They are in the process of getting a permit to add on to the existing septic system to increase the drain field size. The existing tank would be large enough for the existing 2 main bedrooms and then the 3 in the single wide mobile home. They're working with our office for the septic, and staff does not see any issues with this proposal. Once care is no longer needed, they would use the main residence as storage and just leave the single wide in place. So there would only be one house eventually. That's the proposal.
Questions for Kelsey?
Number 7, once the care is no longer needed, on and on and on, who determines when it's no longer needed?
The applicants and the owner, yeah, once,
Something like this could drag on, I would think.
yeah.
You know, I
I
was
mean,
curious.
We have many of these conditional use permits out in the county. We have one actually on this that I just, I think it was on this.
You had the doctor's orders on the one and you dropped it.
Yeah, we don't require that anymore. It's a HIPAA thing. We're apparently not supposed to do that anymore.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, that one's been going for 22 years. And we've never had issues with that one. They did that particular one has never had any problems. So, staff doesn't see any issues with this request.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Karen.
It seems odd that the kitchen will be removed from the stick-built house rather than the single-wide mobile.
Excuse me, you can't speak from back there, I'm sorry. But you can't come up here as soon as this gets done. If you'd like to answer the question instead of Kelsey,
Yes.
okay, come on up, please, so you can answer the question. And you have to introduce yourself, just
My
for the
name is
record.
Leslie Lawson. I am also on the deed of the property. She has transferred the deed of the property to, the deed is saying Roxanne Reef, Tina and Leslie Wasson on the deed of the property now. We are moving in there to take care of her. It is a modular home, 1932. It's not a stick-built home. You guys got that incorrect.
Okay.
Okay. That's the only thing I wanted you to know about that.
Don't go away, in case there's
Not a
another
problem.
question. Any other questions, especially for the
That's
applicant?
why
while
you're
it's-
thinking of taking the kitchen out of that one.
Exactly. Yeah, I want to
Because
use
of
it
the
as
age.
storage, it'll work for storage,
Yeah.
and what have you not. And it's a 1932 home. When Ray passed away, for the last 10 years, the place has had a lot of neglect. Now I'm coming in there, I'm going to do a lot of work to the place, and it needs windows and things like that. But to stick a ton of money into it, it's going to be tough. It's hard to do that and what have you not with that old of a place where it's a 2009 mobile home, nice, gorgeous home that I'm putting in there. I want to fix the whole place up. I'm not like everybody else out in that neighborhood. I don't like trash. I grew up out in that neighborhood. I know what you guys are going through. I refuse to live like that. And I hear giggles and everybody. That's not me. I mean, I got out of the neighborhood because of the trash, but I grew up out there, and I'd like to see some changes out there.
Thank you, Leslie. Appreciate it. I have a question for Kelsey. And I can understand why we don't require the letters anymore. I'm sure it's probably got to do with HEPA. But it would be wise, I would think, because it would be easy for our department or the applicant to forget about notifying the planning department. It might be wise to somehow put a yearly review of just that item or that condition. Some type of letter written or something, and then that way jogs everybody's memory to say, hey. Do you
believe-
still need it or not?
I do
We've got to
believe we
come
have
up
a
with a
year on it.
way, because down the road, we go through these things. If this was to go on, you switch them to 3 years and then 5 years and then we drop it. So I can see where Mike's coming from, how do we keep track of it? It might be nice to make a condition or add to that condition of review that there's a letter sent out yearly to see if it's still needed. Just a thought.
Yeah.
I'm not going to vote against it because of it.
No, that's fine.
Any other questions for Leslie or the applicant while we have him here? Thank you, Leslie. Now you
You're
can sit
welcome,
down.
folks.
Anyone else from the audience that'd like to speak on this before we act? Chair would address a motion.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we accept a conditional use permit for CU 22-49.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and second to approve per staff's recommendation, conditional use permit 22-49 with 8 conditions. Any discussion from the audience? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. On to item number 11.
Item number 11 is a conditional use permit CU 2250 to allow an illuminated on-premise sign within 1,500 feet of a residential zoning district or dwelling unit. This is a church. There's an existing sign on the property. They are just planning to put one of those digital sign word areas in this portion of the existing sign. It's not going to be bright. There's several other churches in the area with this same type of digital sign. The applicant is here. He is the pastor of the church. If you have questions for him, like I said, we have several of these same type of signs from the other churches in the area in the valley. So if you have any questions.
I'd like to ask just one question of the pastor, if he's here.
Yep.
Don't you go away either, Kelsey. If you would, just introduce yourself for the record, please.
I'm Ward Yanders, pastor of Valley Community Church.
Pastor, just one question. Are the lights that are going to be in the new sign, I assume that it's, what do you call it, a message type
Yes, sir.
sign? Are they going to be LEDs?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, and they'll be red. And I think in the package,
There's a picture.
I think included the brightness, the
Okay, the
illumination.
illumins.
Yeah, of the sign as well.
Okay.
And-
That's all I had. I just, it's hard to believe, but some of these signs, we don't realize on the LEDs, you can have a range of lumens
Oh, yeah.
from very low to very high.
Yeah, some of
And it's something that has to be viewed sometimes to actually understand how bright they can get.
I know some of those overhead signs are so bright that when you come up like to an intersection.
Right.
Yeah, and this is very, very low key. And, yeah, it should be in there.
I thought it was in here.
Yeah, it's hard the one we have now, it's got plexiglass that you lift up.
Oh, yeah.
And you gotta get on your hands and knees to get under there and stuff, and.
I'm sure the
Yeah.
wind tries to blow away this stuff.
Yeah, in the wintertime, it gets kind of hard, where this we could do with a keyboard from inside the building, and, it just makes life a lot easier for us.
Good deal.
Well, thank you, Pastor.
Yep, you're welcome.
That's all I had. Since we don't have a machine, we don't have a decibel machine, we don't have a lumen machine, I would assume that the planners then ask what range of lumens we're dealing with, Kelsey?
Yep.
You do.
I don't know what it is off the top of my head. I have-
But you know it's within what you've seen in the past.
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead, Mike.
Is this an animated reader board, or is it just a static sign?
I think it's just static, correct? Or is it gonna move?
No, it's message.
You can do, yeah,
I know, you can type in your message,
You can-
I think it's like the ones Methodist Church has down the street.
that just stays. I think it just, yeah.
Is it?
Any other questions for Kelsey? We'd address a motion so that we could move on to a discussion.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I move approval of CU 22-50.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve conditional use permit 22-50 per staff's recommendations with 6 conditions. It's open for discussion from the audience, from the commission. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. We're on to item number 12, I believe.
Item number 12 is conditional use permit CU 22-48 to allow a vacation home rental on the subject property. The applicant is Argyle Properties LLC, Anita Lee. The lot size is 13.55 acres. The current zoning is agriculture district. The existing land use is residential. The access is off of Hidden Valley Trail, and there's no flood hazard on the property. The zoning ordinance lists 7 criteria that the planning commission may consider in their review of conditional use permit applications. They're listed on the screen. I'll read them off. Number 1, no. A vacation home rental takes place entirely within an existing residence. The requested use should not be detrimental or endanger the health, safety, or general welfare of the public. Number 2, no, a VHR is considered a residential use. This requested use should not change the use of the property or have any long-term negative effects on the enjoyment of other properties in the immediate vicinity. Number 3, no, the requested use should not affect the normal orderly development or improvement of any surrounding property in the area. Number 4, yes, all necessary utilities are in place. Number 5, yes, as access is off of Hidden Valley Trail via an existing approach. Requested use should not significantly affect the traffic congestion. Number 6, yes, the property is zoned suburban residential district. An approved conditional use permit is required to operate a vacation home rental in this zoning district. Number 7, yes, the future land use is ranchette and rural residential. Allowing this conditional use permit should be consistent with the current comprehensive plan. On the property currently, there is a single-family residence with a detached garage, along with a 36 by 45 shop. The request was routed around the departments, and there were no major comments or concerns. Staff performed a site visit on November 7th, and there were a couple of missing items such as fire alarms and fire extinguishers. Staff requested that the items be installed prior to November 9th, and the applicant provided proof of installation on November 8th. The owner has also applied for a layout plan, rezone, and comprehensive plan amendment, and the staff is working with the applicant to submit a variance for the garage located within the section line setback. Argyle Properties LLC is member managed by Anita Lee, and staff recommends approval of CU 22-48.
Thank you. Any questions for Megan? Okay, I've got quite a list of, if you'd stay up here. And what I wanted to explain to the people that do want to speak on this matter, it appears items number 13 and 14 are going to be probably motioned to discuss them together. At this point in time, we're only going to be talking about number 12, item number 12, not 13 and 14. That will require you to get up one more time and probably say the same things. But however, I'm asking that if your comments could be limited to at least the item number 12 conversation. So we can take off, don't go away. Looks like there's a lot of discussion. How about Wayne Walther?
Good morning. I just listed my information as I'll be the property manager on site for the vacation use, for the vacation home rental use. So just making myself available for any questions.
Good. Any questions for Wayne while we got him up here? Okay? We'll wave you out there and get you back up here, Wayne, if it's the case. All right. And I believe Anita's is the applicant, is that correct? Okay, we're gonna hold you to the end, Anita, so that you have an opportunity to listen to those, folks that have an item C. Darcy Gunderson.
Good morning. My name is Darcy Gunderson, and I stand before you today to oppose the rezoning and the rental property for 23911 Hidden Valley Trail. I live at 23896 Hidden Valley Trail, which is directly across the street from this property in question. I have several reasons to oppose the rezoning and a rental property, both environmentally and as a community in whole. The first reason I oppose this rezoning is low water tables in this area. We live in an area that is unique to the Black Hills, which consists of crystal and rock fractures. Depending on the fractures, it can be hard at times to gauge the water tables in this area, and currently with the lack of rainfall, the water tables are low, and I have to haul water to keep up with our water needs, along with other neighbors, which I have also seen at the Pine Grove Community Water Station. Adding additional properties will only worsen the lack of water and put a strain on the hardship on our property and other neighbors in this area. Secondly, added groundwater pollution. By adding 2 additional properties, and this is for the other 2 motions, new septic systems can discharge pathogens, nutrients, and other harmful substances directly into the groundwater or onto the ground. Septic systems are designed to discharge effluent to groundwater as part of the wastewater treatment process. Therefore, contamination of shallow groundwater is a common problem when it comes to septic systems. The first 2 issues can and most likely will be abused by renters. Renters have no stake in a property when they rent it, and without a second thought, they can use more water than necessary or flush items down a drain system that are designed to discharge that are such as chemicals or medications, which are extremely toxic for septic systems. This is just something they don't think about when renting a property. I personally have had rental properties with regular renters, much less short-term renters who will be a larger group, and most renters are just not cognitive of these items when they rent. Thirdly, fire suppression. There are no fire hydrants or close bodies of water, nor does this property have a cistern system to aid in the event of a fire. This is a remote area, and getting emergency vehicles in here can be a challenge. The road in this area is mostly a gravel single lane, and in many areas it is hard to pull to the side to allow others to pass. So this can be a real issue with emergency vehicles. And I do have some pictures that show the roadway and how it's limited, and that you can see that it is only 1 lane.
Megan, you can pass those around, just give them to Jerry.
Fourth, the road itself. Traffic will be increased with additional traffic with our single lane road, gravel road, which will increase dust, wear and tear, snow removal, and overall noise. Our property is at the top of the trail, and all traffic must pass our property, which at the time can be quite busy and trying. We personally have free-range chickens and goats who at times tend to wander towards the road, and with various renters coming and going, they would be unfamiliar with the area and can create safety issues for the animals and themselves. We also have various wildlife that are constantly on the roadway, and this can and does create safety issues. Basically, more properties will increase the traffic with service and delivery vehicles, renters, and their guests. On a personal note, the new owner stated when she was purchasing this property that she was excited to move out here and keep the property as a horse property. However, within a short time, they are wanting to rezone the property and break it up into smaller parcels. She was very misleading and was taken at her word. This property is a haven for deer, wild turkeys, owls who nest in the trees, and bald eagles who are commonly seen on this land. Also, horses have been frequently housed on that property in the past. It would be a shame to have this agriculture property rezoned and lose the beauty of the trees and wonder of the wild and domestic animals. My husband and I are both disabled veterans, And our dream was to retire in this densely populated area that was zoned agriculture, not residential or commercial. So when our property became available, we jumped at the chance to purchase it. Now our dream is being threatened. By allowing this rezoning, this area will no longer be a beautiful countryside it is meant to be. Also, this is the second time there has been a request to have this property rezoned residential. In 2006, Robert and Karen Isaacson requested the rezoning and it was opposed and vacated. Therefore, I'm strongly asking for this rezoning to be vacated. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Okay, Darcy, is there questions for Darcy?
Mr. Chairman, so if you could clarify, you would be opposed to any kind of development in this area? In other words, irrespective of whether there was a vacation home rental or whatever? If someone simply were to want to develop and build a home across the road, for example, you would be opposed to that?
Yes, I would.
You feel that the situation in regard to water is so critical that
Yes, especially when I have to haul it. I have to haul water on in a big tank to fill up our cistern because at times, there just isn't water adequate for me and my husband and our animals.
do you have a well or?
I do have a well.
Okay.
However, like I said, and I have talked to several people on this, but our area, it's kind of unique. We have a lot of fractures and there's a lot of rock, hence Rockerville area. And it takes time for the water sometimes to seep down through the rock, and into the well. Our well actually is 750 feet, which is quite deep. So right in that area, adding, if they were to have this rezoned and add a couple more properties and they added a couple more wells, that would greatly affect our well, I believe.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I've got a question.
Yes.
How much water does a horse consume in a day?
I don't know. I don't have horses.
So typical livestock, cow, about the equivalent of a horse?
I would say, a 300-gallon tank, you would have to make sure that that is full every day, if not every other day. And then we've got wildlife. I'm constantly catching wildlife in my water tanks. So, it's hard to judge how much that actual, the livestock drink versus the wildlife.
So you'd be okay if somebody bought the house and ran livestock on the property and had to water their livestock, but as a vacation rental with no livestock, you'd be opposed to that, where the water consumption would most likely be a lot less than watering livestock on a daily basis.
Well, yeah, I guess.
Thank you.
Darcy, I just want to clarify, you said your well depth was 750?
It is.
Okay. I was making a few notes here and I wanted to make sure I got that. Do you know what it pumps a minute?
No, I'm sorry, I did
Okay.
not. I do have a letter that my husband wrote. He was unable to attend, if I can also read that.
You certainly can read it into the record.
Okay. My husband's name is Clarence Gunderson. And he basically states that we own the property directly across from the road from the property in question. We have lived here since 2006. The property owner seeking rezoning here only recently purchased its land and now seeks this rezoning for a commercial venture. I joined with my wife and the rest of the landowners of the Hidden Valley Trail Road District in opposing this rezoning because we feel we will directly and negatively be impacted should this measure be permitted. In 2008, we had to invest over $25,000 to dig a well so that we could have water for our property. That project ended up going down 750 feet to hit any water. Currently, that well is inadequate to supply all our water needs, so we are compelled to occasionally haul water from the Pine Grove Community Water Station, located about 3 miles away. The water table here is barely sufficient to accommodate the current property owners here. The plan to rezone the property in question would absolutely stress the situation even more. Our property is located on an old trail that historically has existed for a very long time. Our house is the first house on the left when you enter Hidden Valley Trail. so we are impacted by all road traffic that enters and exits on this dirt road. All landowners on Hidden Valley Trail must pass our property to gain access to their land, including the petitioners in this matter. We will be directly impacted by the increased traffic, noise, and dust that will be generated by the petitioner's request in this matter. The petitioner will not be living here. They are a commercial venture. Their goals are obviously designed to maximize their investment through development of the land. They do not care about this community or its current residents. They have demonstrated as much by this petition. They plan on making this a rental community, which will substantially change this community. The change will be negative, bringing with it a devolution of our property, as well as the devaluation of the property owners on this road. There will be increased traffic caused by utility vehicles such as trash trucks, water delivery vehicles, police and fire services, and other maintenance service vehicles for the benefit of the renters this petitioner envisions. The wear and tear on this road will demand increased servicing too, especially during the winter months. The road district will need to increase its levies on us and the other landowners to accommodate the demands caused mainly by this petitioner. It will also need to consider widening the road to accommodate the increased traffic usage that will then require greater maintenance. Finally, I would like to point out that this commission has heard previous petitions of this type before and rejected them. It should do so again for the same reasons. This community is agriculture. We are losing that recognition all too quickly without realizing what it does to our communities. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Questions again? Go ahead, Michael.
I'll make a comment. If you were to sit up here, every so many meetings, a person gets up like you, and maybe it's a guy, maybe it's a gal, a different location, and they say the same thing. And the only reason I say that is I feel for you. What's happening in the Black Hills is what you're running into.
Yes.
I live in the Keystone Hill City Road. They just put in 13 lots down from us, and they're building big houses on them. We're all in wells. Same kind of thing. I mean, I'm not saying you should roll over and play dead, but boy, this is what's going on. It honest and truly is.
I know.
So I feel for you, I really do, but
Thank you.
it's a rough thing.
Yep.
Darcy, I have one final question. To your knowledge, does Hidden Valley apparently has a road district?
Yes, we do.
Okay. You know how many members?
1, 2, 3.
Just approximately.
12, 10. 8 to 10.
Okay. And then what about covenants? Is there any property covenants on the property, or homeowners association is really what I'm asking?
No,
None.
there is no homeowners
All right.
association.
Thank you. And then, now there was a gentleman had his hand in the air back there. Do you have a speaker request for him? Because, okay, I'd like you to answer your question about the livestock when you're on your speaker request for him, please. I'll be calling for you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker request is Sarah Beecher. Sarah here? We can put her later. Okay, how about, I can't.
She's here.
Okay. Plus, she has pretty important cargo there.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
could you reinforce the fact that we're talking about subject number 12?
Yes,
not
we are
13?
talking about number 12, nothing to do with, and so that you know as participants, we see this all the time and you guys don't get to see this. Number 13 is for the comprehensive plan amendment. That's a map that the county planning department operates by on the normal suggested property. And then number 14, I believe, is the rezone. I haven't looked back.
Mine would be 14 then.
You're going to wait till 14?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I can understand that. They're going to be discussed. It just saves everybody a lot of time if you try to stick with the item that we're talking about. Okay, I'm going to put you then back in the mill, so to speak. All right, Sarah. I've got quite a few, so we got to get them in the right pile or we'll forget you by accident. Is it Lexa Olson? All right. We're going to put you on item 13 and 14. Derek Tarno. Oh, good. We're going to get our question answered quicker than we thought. Derek, if you'd still like to, go ahead and introduce yourself for the record and answer the question about the livestock, please.
My name is Derek Turno. I'm president of the Hidden Valley Trails Road District. And the answer to the question, generally a cow or a horse will consume 30 gallons of water per day. And one of the other questions that brought up, how many members on the road district? There are 10 members of the road district.
Okay.
It's pretty tough when you look at the way this broke out, 12, 13, and 14, to discern, to vote on 12 and not capture the essence of 13 and 14 at the same time. I'm going to read my letter that was prepared by the members of the road district, and I'll reread it again when we get to 13 and 14 as necessary. I don't want to, but they are tied together.
Okay, just so you know, we're restricted by Robert's Rules of Order is the only reason we want to do it. It certainly doesn't like reason to what you're saying. I understand what you're saying, and you certainly will be allowed to read it again into the record for 13 and 14.
Okay. All right. Again, my name is Derek Turno. I'm a resident at the bottom of the hill, which is Saddle Notch Trail, 23966 Saddle Notch Trail. Hidden Valley Trail Road leads to Saddle Notch Trail, so we're all part of the same Hidden Valley Trail Road District. And according to the application on the vacation home rental and agricultural district, I'll make a point here that it is an agricultural district. Having a vacation rental house, one, is an issue for the road district based on previous comments that were made. Water, fire suppression, ingress, egress. So in terms of that, I don't believe, and members of our road district do not believe that a vacation rental home strictly, it's not zoned as a commercial enterprise. We're an agricultural community. We moved to the community. I've been there for 15 years. I moved to that community. I also ranch in Murdo, South Dakota. So I'm back and forth. I gave up my corporate job as an environmental consultant, so I can also speak to water issues, hydrogeology. But we're an agricultural area. We're not a vacation rental primary business in the neighborhood. I don't know if the county wants to have all these vacation homes in ag areas. I mean, so I'm going to read my letter. So again, the comments in the letter will apply to all comments I've already read, which will be spoken to again. The homeowners of members of Hidden Valley Trail Road District have expressed the following concerns regarding the rezoning and proposed building of 3 vacation rental homes on Hidden Valley Trail. Water supply is a great concern based on our current water shortage. 2 homeowners are having to haul water in order to meet their needs. One homeowner whose property borders, I'd like to present this letter, the same letter. 2 homeowners are having to haul water in order to meet their needs. One homeowner whose property borders the proposed property drilled a second well to meet his needs, but it only produces approximately 1/2 gallon per minute. The proposed addition of 3 more homes jeopardizes the current water supply. Everyone has expressed grave concern, especially the 2 homeowners who share a well and those already experiencing water shortages. Additionally, the impact on groundwater pollution due to our already existing septic tanks is a concern when we consider the addition of 3 other septic tanks contaminating the groundwater. Ingress and egress. The road itself being a single lane road with a single access, which is off of Neck Yoke Road, and it dead ends down at the bottom of the hill. There is only one way in and out of this area. Another challenge will be the increased traffic on our road. We spend the bulk of our funds in road district on the first section of road where the traffic is greater. When the traffic is increased threefold, the maintenance will increase as well. We're questioning if it would sustain more traffic. It is extremely difficult for vehicles heading in the opposite direction to pass on our road, and virtually impossible if one is a delivery truck or another truck. There is no snow removal, so it's also impossible to pass when it snows. Wayne Walter told one homeowner that we'd be seeing a lot of him because he is manager for Anita Lee and Argyle Properties, and he'd be moving the office to the Morton Building on that property. We're wondering if having a business located on the property would require a change from the zoning to commercial. Finally, and maybe one of the most vital reasons we object to this proposed change is for fire suppression. We have a history of emergency vehicles not having adequate access. One of the homeowners had a fire in 2011, and some of the fire equipment was not able to access the home. We understand that Gail Schmidt, Rockville Fire Chief, called Cody Sack on November 9th and left a voicemail about the variance stating, quote, "My key issue is water and what the local property owners are doing to help provide water for for fires and emergency services." She said she also expressed her concern over continuing to add homes out here, but not doing anything to support the emergency services aspect. Each homeowner member signed this letter on the attached page. Thank you for your consideration. And I ask that that the conditional use permit be declined. Any
Questions for Derek? Thank you, Derek. Questions for Derek? And when you said the members of the road district were who signed that?
Yep.
Thank you.
And
Just
they're
for
on the,
clarification.
they're on the last page.
Okay,
Mr. Chair,
go ahead.
why would there be more traffic?
When you have vacation people, they're in and out, in and out. When you have a family, if they work in town, one trip in the morning, one trip at night, maybe some more during the day. If you have, it, that's what I see. I think there's going to be extensive more
Okay.
traffic.
Well, I would challenge that because I simply don't think that's true. There may be a little more traffic, but I think it would be very marginal. And the same applies to the water. The water usage would be, if anything, perhaps less. I mean, I think you're depicting a situation, if they were going to open up a tourist camp and they were going to rent 6 or 7 units, that would be somewhat different. But as I understand it, they're going to use this house as a rental. And sure, there may even be more people there, but also keep in mind that vacation home rentals, they do nothing outside of the tourist season, virtually nothing. There would be no traffic then.
Well, it typically, like these houses, it isn't just one family that's going to be renting it. Usually, a place like this, 4-bedroom house, is going to have multiple families, multiple friends, and so I'm going to disagree with your water usage. And
Okay, well, I would agree with you on that. In some respects, that's true.
because it isn't going to be a single family,
Right,
you know.
yeah, and it may be 2 families, but to suggest that this is going to have the kind of catastrophic impact that some people are suggesting, I just don't think is true.
Well, okay, and so you're focusing on item 12. We're carrying it for, I can't go to the next terms.
Right, you just
However-
don't want another one you're saying if your neighbor then decides, yeah, maybe I'll do this too, huh?
Or if somebody wants to subdivide their property and now they start out with one, they're
Right.
proposing one to you, then all of a sudden, okay, now they've got 3 houses. And then in the shop there, they've got living quarters because the
That's
gentleman
true.
who built the original house, he built a apartment in the Morton building
But-
so that he could build his house. So then you're saying, okay, I'm looking at, hypothetically, you could have 4 properties that are rentals in our little subdivision, our little
Okay,
agricultural
I
area.
agree. You could have a skyscraper at some point, perhaps. That's possible, right?
Right,
I mean,
so-
okay, but we can't penalize the person who requests what is basically a benign use at this point, speculating on some kind of future development.
But
it wouldn't be fair to you, it wouldn't be fair to them, I don't think.
Okay, but you can't, you're gonna allow developments that can't support it with the infrastructure, roads, water?
My argument would be that we're really not impacting your environment in any noticeable way.
And I'll just go
With,
on record
this
that I
with
disagree.
this application, keep in mind.
And I'm not gonna, I can't argue your point. I mean, I'm not a traffic engineer, you know, I'm a mechanical engineer, worked in the consulting industry. Okay, but I can just say, it is going to impact our agricultural
Okay,
community to have a rental vacation property. It's not a single-family home, it's a commercial enterprise, and it will impact our neighborhood with our system. Now, has a well test been done on that property to support? Anybody looked at that? House across the street, which was spoken to by the first speaker. They don't have enough water to support. Okay, we know of another neighbor down the hill that drilled 2 wells. They still don't have enough water. They're still hauling. Now, the geological formations are such that they might not get any water have enough water to support this. I don't know when they purchased the house, if they went through that.
Okay,
Okay.
I appreciate your patience with me. Thank you.
Thanks, Derek. Any other questions for Derek?
Make a quick comment. I live on the Keystone Hill City Road. I was standing where you were a year ago before I started up here, and somebody wanted to put in a vacation home rental. So I stood where you are, and I was talking about death and destruction and all these things that are going to happen. The funny thing is, and I was told this by some other people, the funny thing is that house has become the quietest house in the neighborhood. They don't wash cars. They don't spray lawns. They don't do anything. I have completely changed my mind about some of this. Now, I'm still not for vacation home rental, don't get me wrong. But in our area, it's become one of the better houses in the neighborhood. It just has. That's reality. That's for us.
Okay, I'm sorry to interrupt. I invite anybody, any of the commissioners, planners, to come down our road and just look where it's at, look at the access for the problems that we think with the increased traffic, water use, that it's going to cause our community, the potential that it could cause.
But one of the things that we noticed that's happened, it's not rented every day. It isn't. I mean, that's just, people don't have that way. So in our area, you don't have that much traffic. And in fact, in some cases, you've got a lot less. These people aren't out early in the morning and they're not out in the evening usually. At least that's the way it is up our way. And I understand what you're saying, but in some cases, it's not as bad as what I used to think. It just isn't.
Well, standing here, I feel like my persuasive speaking skills has not swayed anybody's opinion on the matter. So, but just be aware that
Don't be so sure, Derek. I'm sure the rest of us are too.
And I'm going to speak to, okay, again, for vacation rentals. And we do have a fire problem in the hills. We do have people that aren't aware of the fire dangers. Now, we know in our community, you know, the Battle Creek fire, was it the Battle Creek fire?
Yes.
Came through nearly, our house wasn't built yet. However, we were driving, I lived in Seattle, we came, you know, we were vacationing here at the ranch. We drove through, we saw this big fire. Well, lo and behold, we bought a house that was in that area. But we've talked to neighbors on just how critical and dangerous and devastating that fire was. Now, I'm going to say vacation rental, if they don't respect or have a knowledge of the dangers of fire, that is a very grave concern. And with that fire and with the subsequent house fire, there was no water, no access, ingress, egress was very limited on our road. So I'm just trying to protect the environment, our way of life, our quality of life. And so for that reason, I'm going to say that I'm going to ask that conditional use permit for vacation home rental in Ag District be denied.
Thank you, Derek.
Thank you.
Just one point, so you know, when we discuss this, I'll be talking to the planner about fire regulations in the conditions. So I do have a question about those too.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now, I believe Joe Turner?
Joe Turno. I'm Joanna Turno. I live at 23966 Saddle Notch Trail, and I'm actually an employee of South Dakota Wildland Fire. So I can speak to the wildland urban interface, which is an issue. And I did speak with Gail Schmidt, and she said she called zoning and planning because fire is an issue. And my main concern in regard to item 12 is behavior of vacation folks that are, renting the place for a week or 2 weeks. And again, the fire danger. I would really like to make sure that there are stipulations in place within the lease that talk about fire and behavior, and that, we have to have, if you're gonna have fire, you have to have it in a permitted burn permit, and that the property manager that hopefully is gonna be living on site, so there will be at least one entity, somebody living there at all times. So even if the item number 12 gets approved, we're automatically doubling the occupancy of this lot, let alone issue 13 and 14. So I would like to make sure, for the protection of our neighborhood, that the vacation folks that are coming in are very clearly observed and taught where and where not to have fire, and that they have to get their fire pits put out. They have to be cold. Gail Schmidt and I, when we talked about this, she said, yeah, I just bought one of these a month ago on Pine Grove. It's an issue. Our wildland urban interface is an issue. And so that's my concern about item 12 and the use of this property as a vacation home rental.
Thank you, Joe. Just wait a minute, please.
Sure.
Any questions for Joe? Okay, so Derek knows, on the conditions, there's conditions of approval on these things. And we have a normal conditions, a set of conditions, and they're not in there. And I was going to note that to Megan regarding the fire and fire pit and whatnot. And it's fairly tough. They have to meet certain regulations and whatnot. And we'll make sure that that condition is in there prior to our acting on the matter. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
Okay, I've got, is it Manelli? Am I can't quite read.
No, that's okay. I think it's Michelle.
Oh, Michelle. No, I've got an Anellen.
No, that's all my last names.
Okay. Well, then I just didn't read very well, did I? Well, thank you. Please introduce yourself for the record and then go ahead and speak.
Michelle Nalene Marwani. I live at 23921 Hidden Valley Trail. We are probably the old timers of the group. My family's lived at that property since 1998, and we've kind of, my mom and stepdad have been before you about some of the issues in the neighborhood over and over. So we've kind of seen it all and done it all. I wanted to speak a little bit about a question that you had for Darcy. I don't think and I couldn't see who asked the question about, would you have an issue if somebody bought it and raised livestock on it? You need to understand that the horses that are on that property are getting water from an adjoining property, and that water is being hauled from Pine Grove. So that needs to be clarified, that the horses that are currently, they don't belong to we used to actually have cows back there. This property adjoins the back of our property, and we used to have cows, and the cows had to get water from our property. So that's an issue. The other thing that I would like to know, and I was surprised that you don't have pictures, actually. Could I pass out pictures of our road?
We can pass them around if
Oh,
it'll
yeah.
help you.
I'm a teacher. I have copies for everybody.
Oh, wow.
And I am a teacher, so they're black and white, because we can't afford color. And I owe my world history students an apology for being gone today. But this is really important to our community. And You can say, this is happening in the hills. You can say, and I wrote down what you said, 6 or 7 units would be different. Potentially, when we go through items 12, 13, and 14, that's where we're at. So we have the house that is being proposed to be used as a vacation rental. People don't rent a vacation rental of this size. I don't know what the ultimate sale price of this property was, but I know they were asking right around $1 million, maybe in the 900. You don't rent out a $900,000 house and expect a family to rent it. This is multiple cars all through our season. This is our reality, that we are going to have multiple cars per night, multiplied and multiplied and multiplied. We question, and perhaps one of your planning people or you can explain to us, if they're planning on having an on-site office, clearly there's going to be an awful lot of need for the rentals. Does that not then move this up to commercial? Can I ask you questions? I don't know what the rules are. Can I ask anybody a question? Yeah, so if they're going to have on-site offices, does that then require commercial?
It does not.
So you can have any business in our neighborhood, really?
You can have an in-home office.
Okay. But it's not the home, it's the shop.
Oh, I'm sorry, it's on the property. It can be utilized as a home office.
Okay.
Cody, introduce yourself.
Cody Stack, environmental planner. So in-home offices or in-home occupations just have to be conducted entirely within a building on site of that property. Correct. So it can be in the house, it can be in a detached garage, it could be in a barn. It just has to be completely done inside of a structure on the property.
Okay, Cody, don't leave.
Can I keep asking?
Cody reviewed, you certainly can
Okay.
ask him a question. Just a second here. I want to let you know, Cody is 13 and 14, so he's
Cody.
certainly reviewed this matter. Go ahead.
So when you say in-home, it's not their home though.
So if you look at the definition of in-home, like occupation, it just says that it is completely done inside a structure on the property. So it doesn't necessarily have to be in their home. That's the definition that's in the ordinance.
So homeowner doesn't have to live in their home to run in a home office.
No. Or if they're the property owner of the property and they have an office on their property that they own, it would be considered an in-home office or an in-home occupation.
But she's not gonna, the owner's not gonna live there.
But does she own the property? That's the question. She owns the property. She owns all the structure on the property, whether she rents it out short term or not. She owns that property, so she can have her own personal office in that structure, even if she's coming and going to that office. It's allowed in that agriculture district.
But that's not her personal office. Wayne Walter has already said that he's going to have his office.
I'm just telling you what our ordinance says.
Michelle, maybe if you added one more thing in here.
I would love to hear some
Okay.
feedback from
You
you,
added
please.
one more thing. Pennington County has been very flexible
Okay.
about property owner rights. We haven't been so flexible, and they'll probably be booing after this, on selecting conditional use permit items. However, in regards to a home office, if a person was an insurance person, that's a home office. If they decided to do hair, that's not a home office. And that, yes, one is as commercial as the other. In the case of vacation home rentals, we're not so much talking about commercial, we're talking about the property use. And the courts decided these things on the property use, not necessarily Pennington County. When you talk about reviewing a vacation home rental, the use of that property is basically domestic housing. And that's what the courts decided on. They decided it was being used as housing. It didn't have anything to do with commercial. We hear commercial. This board hears commercial again and again and again. Yes, it's commercial. They collect taxes on it. The state gets involved. But it's not commercial that we're reviewing. The courts made the decision. That property is being used as it was designed to be used, a house that's being used as domestic housing. People sleep in it, people come and go from it. It's unfortunate. We're not the court.
Okay.
So that's what I wanted to throw in to help your thinking when you're talking about offices and whatnot. They still have those rights to use that property as an owner. We can't take those away from them.
Would, as a homeowner and.
You would have the same right as
Right.
a teacher to
Right.
have your own office and not ask us about it.
Well, I'm not renting out anything on my property. I'm not holding school on my
We're
property.
we're talking about an office. We're not talking about renting.
Yeah, okay, so maybe we'll talk some more on 13 and 14.
Thank you.
Thank you. You're a much harder audience than high school students, just so we're clear. And they're tough. It was mentioned already in terms of water supply. Darcy is having to haul water. The property that is over on Windsong, that is not part of the notification, or they're not here that I know of. They're also having to haul water. They've already dug one well, which is easily within eyesight of this property, and that well has come up dry. So when you say that water is not an issue, it sure is for us. And as we go forward with the potential of the house as a vacation property with living quarters in that shop that you had, that I sent, gave you pictures of, with the 3 proposed units, you are cutting off our legs in terms of our future as an agricultural community. Do you want?
Oh, no, you go ahead, you have it before.
Okay, no, I thought you had something else to add. So far, you've been helpful.
Go ahead. If you have something to add, Cody, you usually do. Thank you.
So Cody Sack, I'm a rental planner. So after talking with the state's attorney, the issue of the office isn't what's actually being discussed right now. That would be a separate issue. Depending on what the office is used for, it could require an additional conditional use permit, which would be brought back before the board, and the neighbors would be notified for that use as well. So just to clarify that, the office part of that.
Cody, before you leave, since you got to speak, however, if a person sat there and they own the property and they use a spot on that property for an office, and they don't bring other people on and whatnot, just so I don't want to leave that issue on the table, that a person cannot have an office without having another issue.
Okay.
Thank you.
So yes, you can have an office. It just depends on how that office is used, and depending on the office thing just came up at this meeting, so we're still trying to get it worked out with the applicant. So depending on what they're actually going to use that office for, it may or may not require an additional conditional use permit.
Okay, Cody, and we have the property manager and the applicant last on this, so we will be asking. Thank you.
The other thing, and this, I feel like I'm kind of just here in support of our neighbors. Joe mentioned fire. You should be aware that there have already been, I don't know if it was rented, but there have already been out-of-state short-term people in this house with outdoor fires. So that might not mean a lot to somebody who has 2 outlets. We can't get out. That fire starts there, and everybody down the road, we're stuck. And they have such little regard for us that they're letting it happen. So please be aware that this has already started. I don't know if it was family, but I know that there have been cars there from Minnesota, and there have been outdoor fires already in place. So to say that they're looking out for our neighborhood is, we're not off to a good start at this point. And then you have noticed the pictures. These are pictures with our vehicle in front of their shop. they're already out of compliance. They have to get a variance. Is that what somebody said? In terms of they're like less than 24 feet from our road. We have nowhere to go. You can see in our pictures, which I'm really surprised that the county does, or the planning department doesn't have pictures of what this actually looks like. This is what we get to deal with. So when you say that we're not going to have more traffic, that's good because we have to pull off into the ditch. If this is, if one of their renters does start a fire, how do you get out? You can say this is happening all over the hills, but does it have to happen in every situation? Do we just blanket give approval to somebody because they want to have a vacation home and exercise their rights as a property owner? There's no regard for us, our water, our road. I encourage you, I don't know who represents us sorry, I teach government and I should know this, but I don't know which of you is our commissioner for our area, but come look at our road and look at the reality of what this would actually mean for us. Every day we have to deal with this, and they're at the beginning of the road. So all of us who are very well represented on the road district, we get to drive through this. So I request that you deny the vacation use permit. And then I have a lot to say about the next few. In terms of, I definitely take issue with items 5 and 7, that the planning department has said that the access is off Hidden Valley Trail on an existing approach. The requested use should not significantly affect the traffic congestion. I think that is, I think it's an ignorant statement. And clearly, two planning officials didn't go side by side when they were out there taking pictures. And then number 7 is the conditional use consistent with the adopted county comprehensive plan. It is long and I read it. And I have excerpts of that taken out and prepared to talk to you. We're ranchette, rural residential. We're not some developer who's coming in first solely for profit. We are not meant for that in our community. We're not built for it. We don't have the road. We don't have the fire suppression. We don't have the water. We don't have the infrastructure. So, questions?
Questions for Michelle? I've just got one. I'm going to put in your hands so that everybody else can hear it too, because I've heard it a couple of times. Just so you know, we do get a set of conditions of approval of this if we approved it. And in that condition, and it's in number 1, the overnight occupancy is limited to 6 people by the DANR for the septic, just so that anybody that's speaking knows that. It's limited to 6 overnight guests. Just wanted to put that on the table.
In a 4-bedroom house.
Yep.
Okay.
That's what it is.
Good to know.
And
No, that's really good to know.
And that's what the state limited it to.
Okay.
Okay. Yes. And do you have a speaker request for him? I'm going to put you at the end, Jim. Yeah. Thank you. Let me know what it is that you want to respond on. Please come up and introduce yourself.
Sure.
Jim, you and I know each other, right?
Yep, thank you, Charlie.
Okay.
Jim Peterson, and for transparency, I've been involved in the vacation home rental business for nearly 20 years and watching it evolve and stuff. And I was also on your committee.
I need you to get to the point, Jim, because I'm allowing other people to wait.
Okay. Well, anyway, so very familiar, but issues with the water, that thing that came up. But one is the on-site, there was a statement saying, I think if I heard it right, that there would be living there. That's not the case. If we were talking about a B&B, we wouldn't be here.
Right.
And that's because somebody is on site. So from a vacation home rental, having a space for the manager to be there more than not any given day is, I think, a big leg up. You know, having
saying use of an office. So that's your answer to
in the other facility,
okay.
In the other building.
All right, yeah. I'm gonna reserve our questions for the end, and I hope you come up again and run this all by me. I'm sure you will, Jim. Thank you. Okay. Anything else, Michelle, before you
No, I would just ask that you take a picture, take a look at those pictures.
did?
We can't, their office doesn't mean county policy. Um, well, this is my mom.
And she obviously supports you.
No, she was Lexi. Her name is Leanne.
You have to introduce yourself for the record, please.
I'm Leanne Olson.
You guys are beating up on me because I let Jim stand up, aren't you? Go ahead.
I know Jim. But anyway, we have been there for a long time. And then we have 3 properties in the hills. And you probably recognize me because less than 6 months ago, we were here for the other property we have. And the people came and they wanted a couple cabins, and we said, okay, a couple cabins will work. 6 months ago, we came and they want 3 more. And you guys okayed it. That's the way it goes. The guys that were putting in the cabins promised we were having trouble with the cabins coming on our property, nightly rentals. We'll put up signs, we'll make sure it doesn't happen. No signs. We still have people trespassing on our properties. You can have these rules, but you don't have any follow-up. You can say 6 people, but what do we do when there's 10 cars up there? Who's going to come out and count? And as far as fire suppression is concerned, when Sean Brinkman's house burnt down, they couldn't get down that road. They went through our pasture. They took down our fence and went out in the pasture so they could get up to put out his fire. When the Battle Creek fire came through, couldn't get down the road. They bulldozed through our fences. And they bulldozed through when they went through, and then they bulldozed through someplace else. So our cows were out in the forest someplace. It took us a few days to go out and find our cows because our fences were down. So that's it. We've been down this nightly rental thing. You're the only person I've ever heard of that had a good experience. More than one. And people come to the Black Hills to see the Black Hills. They don't come to stay in the house. So they're down the road, they're up the road, they bring their 4-wheelers, they're through the fences. We have a gate and people come down the road and try to get through the gate to get on the Forest Service. We had to put a chain on it to keep people from coming and going and letting our cows out. It's a tough situation.
Thank you, Mom. Any questions for Mom while we got her here? Go ahead. Thank you both.
Yeah, so that was, you had her as Lexan or Lexi?
I was one of the first ones.
Yeah. So
Oh, all right, you were together.
yeah, you actually moved her to the end.
All right.
So we'll leave for break.
Well, thank you. See, the teacher in you corrected me, didn't it? Thank you. Well, we're down to, and I just assume, let's see, we had Wayne and then Anita. Do you both want to come up together? If you'd introduce yourself for the record, you're certainly allowed to ask questions, answer questions, or whatnot. And then I'm going to let you speak.
Okay. Well, again, I'm Wade Walther, and I'm the property manager with the owner, Anita Lee. So.
And Anita, just introduce yourself for the record. That's just legal.
I'm Anita Lee.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think just from observations I've had and listening to a lot of the feedback and a lot of the comments, it strikes very personal areas of our lives, our property, fire, danger, risk, control. Those are all really important things, and we're extremely mindful of that with the opportunity to be part of that community, to contribute and be good stewards of the area and good neighbors in general. I would have to completely and wholeheartedly object to some of the questions around water usage, around traffic on the road, for much of the same reasons. I happen to be a father of 2 boys. There's 4 in our family. And like most of the American population now, we all have vehicles. We're all 16 years and older, operating those vehicles. And again, I think that's the important thing to keep in mind is the daily traffic from me and the 4 members of my family coming and going on the road, teenage kids showering every day, a lot of those things happening in the house 7 days a week. I can't be overly scientific about it, but it represents a lot more strain upon the resources in the local area than people that are using it for rental. I would echo the same thoughts that while it would be very selfishly beneficial to have it rented on a daily basis, that's nowhere near what the expectation will be, and we'll probably be doing well to have 50% occupancy at the home. So again, just weighing between everyday use of a large family that could potentially be occupying the home versus the sporadic intermittent use of vacation rental, we would have to completely object to the concerns about issues on the local infrastructure and traffic. Those were my main thoughts. I guess I could also just address a couple of the things. The usage by the folks from Minnesota were personal friends of mine, and they did use the fire pit. I'm pretty sure that the previous owners had used the fire pit on multiple occasions too, so there was no real issue or problem with them using that. I was there most days that they were present at the home as well, since we are pretty good personal friends. The other thing about the office use is just was a statement that was made to kind of help people understand that we weren't owners that were going to be from out of state, that we weren't going to be, you know, just as a bad example, but you wouldn't have ownership interest that's from Phoenix, Arizona or something like that, that we live pretty close in proximity, both of us being residents from Hill City. And the home office use is that I have the flexibility with my full-time job to work from home. So I do plan to be there quite often to utilize that facility to just do my typical daily work and activities like that. That addresses the home office aspect of it. So.
Anything else? Go ahead, Anita.
Okay, I'm Anita Lee. I am the owner, and I have the privilege of living next door to a vacation rental in Hill City. Inside the city limits, our neighborhood has about 6 of them, and you can walk through the neighborhood and pick out the 6 neatest houses, and you'd be right on, because you've got to keep them neat if you want to beat the competition and keep the people coming back. They are neat, they are clean, they are good neighbors, and we enjoy ours a lot. We go over and say hi. We've met people from all over, and maybe this sounds boastful, but it makes me feel proud to think that I live in a neighborhood that people would drive 500 miles or so to stay in. Because most of my life, I have never been proud of where I lived. And those vacation rentals make me proud of where I live. My dog goes over and says hi to them when they move in. And every Halloween since we've been there, we have had over 100 trick-or-treaters. The kids and the parents in Hill City know that we are a safe neighborhood. We have had no traffic problems. And as for traffic, I haven't noticed a traffic problem on Hidden Valley Trail. Now, I've spent most of my life in the rural areas, so I'm not exactly spoiled when it comes to roads. But I haven't had any trouble meeting anybody. I mean, sure, you pull over to the right. You pull over, he pulls over to the right, and it works. I've driven a lot of miles on a lot of worse roads. And I grew up in Pennington County, and Pennington County, amongst the counties, was always known as having the second best roads in western South Dakota. Pennington County wouldn't allow a road that you had to go in the ditch when you met somebody. I mean, am I not right? Do you allow roads that are so narrow you have to go in the ditch if you meet somebody? And I welcome any of these neighbors or people to check me out any way they can think of. And I think my reputation as a good neighbor will stand. I resent the lady who said that I misled her because, frankly, I don't recognize her. I don't think I ever laid eyes on her. I don't think we've spoken. And the times I've spent over there, I've tried to be a good neighbor. I have not complained about her goats being in my yard. And I have not complained about the neighbor that has the marijuana drifting down onto our property. I mean, you can smell it. And I have not said a word. I've tried to be a good neighbor. And if anybody else has a problem with me, I hope they will come to me and I will do my best to rectify any problem that should arise. And I am open to questions.
I have questions.
Okay.
Sure, Karen, go ahead.
The first one, would you be willing to accept a condition that says no outdoor fires allowed?
Absolutely.
Okay. Your house rule sheet says that they're up to 10 guests, but according to the information from the state on the water use and the septic use, it says 6. Would you update your house rule sheet?
Yep.
Have you had to haul water there?
No, and we have we have a 500-foot well. It tested at 6 gallons a minute. And I haven't got the paper in front of me, though it's in my car if anybody wanted to see it, that shows the storage capacity of the well. So I'm not thinking that's an issue.
Okay, I was just curious if you were having water problems too, since someone across the road said they were. And as far as the width of the road, you're in a road district, and that's a little bit different. They're governed. They govern themselves. Pennington County tries to tell them how wide their roads need to be, but if they were existing as roads before the road district took over, then.
But I really haven't had any trouble meeting people on the road.
Okay, those are my questions.
Maybe people are used to highways and I'm not.
Michael?
Does Argyle LLC, Properties LLC, do they own or control other vacation home rentals also?
No, what I own is a 12-plex apartment complex in Spearfish.
And that's part of Argyle?
That was the original
Okay.
Argyle, and I have been trying to get something closer to home. And you know Hill City probably better than I do. It's just not that easy to do. And as far as the nightly rent or the monthly rentals, I have had issues. You get a bad tenant and you can't get rid of them. I had one, bless her heart, she had issues. She had cats. She smoked marijuana in the room, even though I had a no smoking and no pet policy. And she cost me about $11,000 when she left in repairs. And with these people, I don't know how familiar you are with the system, but they are vetted. They have a grading system. Their other landlords, whatever host is the word, do have a rating on them. So if they cause trouble, they can have trouble getting another one anywhere in the country. So these people work at being good neighbors. And I have sure found that to be true in my neighborhood. They are the politest and neatest, and we've had such good luck with the ones in our neighborhood. And you know where I live, right?
Yep.
So,
That's all the question I had on that.
okay, thank you, Mike.
Additional questions for either Mr. Walker or Anita? I'm going to clarify on one for you, Karen. And you know it depends on when the road district was formed, whether there was designated road property in the original application or it wasn't. Both exist in our county in regards to the width of the road and what they have to use for a road. Just so everybody's on the same page. How old is the road district? Cody, do you know how old the road district is? You can find out in the audience there and tell me. Thank you. Go ahead, Cody. Now tell it for the record.
Cody Sack, environmental planner, 10 years old.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And then to clarify, that's a 40-foot wide private access and utility easement is what the road is.
Okay, you have reviewed that.
Yes, as part of their plat, and not to steal my thunder later in the rezone.
Right,
stuff,
I
there is
understand.
going to be some road improvements and widening of easements for their layout plan, that'll be required.
I didn't want to do that either. I just wanted to, you live with what you got once you switch it over to road district. And Karen is absolutely correct. A road district is an entirely separate governmental institute. You're on your own out there once you're a road district. All the property owners, and again, most people don't realize this, actually get unincorporated road tax removed from their property taxes. You don't pay it. Everybody else that doesn't have a road district pays it.
I'd like to add that I did live in Meade County for most of my life, and I lived in an area that did get a rural water system. And not, I mean, they're rare, hard to get. But the more people you have, the more likely you are to get one. And it was a housing development north of New Underwood that.
Anita, I got it. We're getting off the record there. Thank you. Anything else? Okay.
Mr. Chair, can I have just one clarification?
Sure.
I'm not clear on the home office in the shed. And there's living quarters in the shed? Is that where you're planning on living?
Well, the reality is I may work inside the home itself too. It's just an issue of, there is a separate area, out in the Morton building that could easily be used to perform my daily work. I just work off the computer. So, yeah.
But it's not a separate bedroom area, or it is?
Well, it's a room, yeah. There is potential for like some utility even in the shed too, but it's not currently living quarters.
Okay.
You don't intend to use it as living quarters?
No.
Thank you. Any other questions for Anita or Mr. Walker? Excuse me. I'm gonna, Joe, please, you can come back up again. Thank you. Well, if you want to, or you find something, you can come back up again. Joe, go ahead.
Allowed to ask a question? Because my question.
Please ask it of the commission, not to the applicant. Thank you.
What is in the application for the use of this property as a vacation rental? Is it planned for weekly, daily, monthly, annually, quarterly? What is the planned use? What is the request?
Requires, no, we'll answer that.
Okay.
I'm gonna have Cody answer that. Thank you. Anita, please sit down, please. Go ahead, Cody.
Cody Stack, environmental planner. So for a vacation home rental, it can be rented nightly, weekly, and then if you do it monthly, longer than 28 days, there's no permit required.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Joe. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Now you have to come up and reintroduce yourself. I know, it seems formal, doesn't it?
I'm Leanne Olson again. If they have this office in this Morton building, the Morton building is right on the road. There's no place for people to park. They're going to have to obstruct the road. If you look at those pictures, you can maybe park one car horizontally or parallel with the building, but
Okay,
I just don't know what they're going to do.
Deanne, we're gonna let Cody address that one too. Go ahead, stay right up here, please.
Sorry, Cody Stack, environmental planner. I was just gonna pull up what she was talking about on here. I guess I didn't hear what the question was.
It's in regards to the setback of the Morton building on the road, district property.
So with that being a private access easement, there's actually no required setback from the county. You just can't be within that said easement, and they wouldn't be able to park within that easement.
Correct.
So they
If
could.
there's no place to park, how can you have an office with no place to park?
I would assume there'd be buildable area next to it outside where they could build a parking pad. But so while I'm up here, staff's going to recommend that we continue this for 2 weeks to figure out the issue of this office and then what it is, so we can bring it forward to the.
Thank you, Leanne.
The planning commission.
Are you changing? Well, you can't exactly do it though, can you? Megan's got to do it.
Megan will do it. I was just
Oh, all right.
up here.
Megan, would you like to speak to us again, please?
Megan Talmadge, planner.
Go ahead.
Staff would recommend to continue this conditional use permit for another 2 weeks to figure out the office occupation.
Okay. Any questions for Megan on this? Go
This is
ahead, Mike.
just 12, not 13 and 14.
12. Correct.
Just 12.
Yeah.
Okay.
We are discussing number 12 only,
Just wanted to make
per
sure.
Robert's rules.
Yep.
Any other questions for Megan? Any questions from the audience on that? Now you can come up. And please introduce yourself. Don't go away, Megan. Thank you.
I'm Beth Christensen. I was actually here for the South Dakota Synod thing, so it's totally something different. I have a very similar situation where I have, because there's already a vacation rental house there, and hearing this, I have to disagree with Jim. We have an over $1 million rental house, VRBO, that is across, I live on Thunderhead Falls. If you guys are familiar with that area, it's beautiful out there. It's just across the river. You can't see it, but the traffic has increased greatly since they turned into a VRBO. And we live on, it's a single lane bridge, so we have a lot of fire concerns too, because there's 2 bridges on there, there's single lane to get back and forth. So the traffic, very peaceful, it makes a difference. This is a 5-bedroom place, they are allowed up to 10 people, and there will be up to 5 cars coming and going out of there multiple times a day, for sure. During Sturgis, I think they were illegal because we counted 19 motorcycles coming out of that place. The noise, even though we can't see the house, it carries across the creek. I'm sitting out on my deck hearing F-bombs drop, and this is a house that rents for $750 a night. This isn't a bad area. I'm glad other people have good results. When we moved there, we were moving in for peace and quiet. I feel for these people. I've experienced this. And this place is very, very popular. It's beautiful. It's rented most of the year. It's rented right now. Big trucks, traffic coming out. They come in late at night. The light shine. Our poor neighbors are planting in trees because when they leave where their house is, because theirs is the last one on the lane, so it goes by all of our houses, shines it right into their beautiful windows that look out into the creek there. You know, if you guys appreciate moving into a place and how it wants to be. I mean, I didn't come here for this. I came here because of Rimrock Church Camp. I'm on the camp commission there. But this has just touched my heart so much, listening to what these people are going through. It is definitely more traffic. All of us complain about, there's only, 6 houses on this road. And so, you say it's families do the same thing. No, when it's a rental house and you can have up to 5 families in there, it can be nonstop at times. Maybe you have good luck, but you don't know what it's going to be, and it's going to change over time. So that's all I have to say. Personal experience, it's very similar. Dead end road, single lane. We can't go off in the ditch in ours to get out of the way. It's a bridge. It's going the creek, people, if you're trying to get there. We got 6 other bridges there. We have a big fire area problem that you guys at one point wanted to make our bridges too. Sorry, shouldn't get off on that. But please, please respect the nature it is. The noise carries, it is unreal how much it is, especially the owner wants to cut down more trees, and it's going to make it worse. That's not why we moved there. So thank you for listening to me and hearing the perspective. But again, this had nothing to do with me being here. I just kept listening to this, and I had to share that, Jim, there is a difference. There is a definite difference of what we live in now.
Thanks for, excuse me. I didn't get your name. I write them down for my notes.
Beth Christensen.
Thank you, Beth. Thank you for sharing your similarities with us. Okay, Megan. Are you suggesting that you're changing the entire recommendation, item number 12, to a continuance for how long? When do you want? 2 weeks?
2
The
weeks.
next meeting?
Yes.
Okay. Discussion, Commission. What do you want to do?
I'd like to hear from this gentleman with his hand up.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Excuse me. I apologize, Jim. We put you right to the end, didn't we?
maybe that was on
Go ahead,
purpose,
Jim.
Charlie.
No, I didn't mean that. Thank you.
Just some clarification points that might help on this. Water's been brought up several times. I pulled all the well logs that I could find off the South Dakota well report. This particular property has a, get there real quick. bunch of notes and trying to write down. It has a 500-foot well. It's a 6+ gallon a minute from the well log. Static level is at 50 feet. So it's for, excuse me, 450 feet of capacity in a 6-inch well, which means it's 660 gallons of storage. So so we hear about the water. So I can show you the rest of the well logs. The one further, now this is also need to know that this is at the beginning of the houses on this road. So the traffic implication, you can take it from there, but it's, it's the first house on the right. So it's not going through the whole neighborhood, if you will. There's a well further
I didn't
down.
understand that. You're saying it's the first house, but you're not going through the neighborhood? I missed that.
Well,
Something.
if a neighborhood is houses,
Yeah.
the first house on the right is this particular property. There's a house on the left, and then the houses continue on. Can we pull it up?
But then somebody, maybe I missed it, but
Is
then
that-
they are driving through. Everyone that comes to this house, you're saying won't be going through the neighborhood.
Well, they'll come off of Neck
Okay.
Brook onto Hidden.
Oh,
And
I
then-
understand what you're saying
and then-
now.
do
I
you
just
get it,
thought you were
Charlie?
saying you can't drive.
Here's the subject
You won't be
house.
driving by this.
Here's the house.
Understand now what you were saying.
Houses are this way.
I missed you there, and
Does that make sense?
yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
So impact, you can take that for whatever you want. So the house further down, as an example, because the elevation does change, and I did call the well people ahead of this. That had a 750-foot well, and it had like 6-7 gallons a minute. So they've noted that there's many wells around here that have they're having problem, different, but that doesn't necessarily equate. I mean, it's not like we're hitting the same pocket of water. I mean, I think you guys know how wells work around here. Okay. So to say that additional load, well, I'll refrain from that. That's for the other items. But this particular house is set up for whatever number of bedrooms now. It'll also be set up for the vacation rental for that same number of bedrooms. In this case, it was 6. So the capacity, the use on the water, I don't see it significantly changing. In fact, over an annual period of time would be less. Because if this property is typically 150 night a year would be really good in terms of a nightly rental. So, I think, I know change is tough. It also presents fear, and then now we got to sort out perception versus reality. Again, Charlie, you mentioned the use. It is a residential use. We know, I don't know if the audience knows all that, but thank you for pointing that out. Last summer, the Supreme Court deemed it the same use as a single family, so we know that. We know the number of people. The home office thing, I think, is getting exacerbated. I pointed out that you're going to have, most vacation rentals do not have an on-site manager. I pointed that out to the bed and breakfast because if you have a bed and breakfast, you have an on-site manager and you're not going through a CUP process. Is that correct? So the advantage of having Wade on site a large part of the time is an advantage. To call him an office, and there's plenty of room for him to park in front of that garage, that shop, but he's not having customers come to him. He's just working on his computer while he's on site. So he's being efficient with his time. We've heard about the road access. I've been out there several times. I certainly haven't been there year round. So, but anyway, the rest of my comments really pertain to the next 2 items. But I just wanted to address the water thing. For this particular house, has adequate water and has no need for, adding a cistern or something like that.
Don't go away, Jim. They might have questions. I didn't mean to cut Jim off before, but he wasn't on the speakers list. And Jim has a long history of involvement with vacation home rentals. Is that correct? How long have you been involved? So that I treat you fairly. Go ahead.
18 plus?
Yes. And Jim and I have worked on a number of committees together, and that's what he was referring to. Questions for Jim? Thank you, Jim.
Thanks, guys.
All right, Megan, we got you back. I'm sorry, I forgot Jim. Commission on the continuance, that's where we're back to.
I move we continue CU 22-48 to the December 5th meeting. Is that the correct date?
No, it's the 28th, November 28th.
Okay, November 28th meeting.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded to move the conditional use permit 22-48 to the November 28th meeting. Discussion. Anyone from the audience would like to speak on that? I'll comment. It's very good that any of you that came up and did speak, and you have that officially on the record, and we do review that again when we review it. If you were not able to attend, you still can attend by Zoom when this comes back up again. And we do pay attention to that too. And we pay attention to any emails and written. We do get them in our reports. Discussion from the commission. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion, okay, excuse me. I was a little fast there. You got that? All righty, thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I make a motion that we combine agenda items number 13 and 14 as one, but we will vote separately at the end.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Moved and second to discuss items number 13 and 14 together. The action on those will be handled separately as per the agenda item. Discussion from the audience. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. And by the way, just for the record, it does take 2/3. I'm just telling Jerry I didn't mention that this time. It does take 2/3 to do that. And it was unanimous. Thank you. Go ahead, Cody, it's your stage.
Cody Sack, Environmental Planner. Item 13 is Comprehensive Plan Amendment, CA 22-21. It's to amend the comprehensive plan to change the future land use from Ranchette District to Rural Residential District and to Rural Residential District. The applicant is Argyle Properties LLC, Anita Lee. The agent is Jim Peterson. Location of the property is 23911 Hidden Valley Trail. Involves 13.55 acres. Currently zoned agriculture district within an existing land use of residential. Access is off Hidden Valley Trail and there's no special flood hazard area on the property. Currently, the future land use for the property is ranchette, which is a minimum lot size requirement of 5 acres. The proposed zoning of rural residential is a 3-acre lot size minimum. Maximum single-family resident density for ranchette is 0.2, and for rural residential, it's 0.33. Setbacks are the same at 25 feet from all property lines. And prominent land uses, ranchette is residential and hobby farming, and rural residential is residential. Utilities are private. When looking at rezones and comprehensive plans, we look at current and future zoning within a half mile of the zoning district. For the north, there is, for current zoning, there is agriculture district, suburban residential district, rural residential district, and some open space. To the south, there is agriculture district and open space. To the east is open space, and to the west is agriculture, rural residential, and suburban residential district. For future land use, which is on the right side of the screen, I guess. To the north, there's suburban residential and rural residential district. Ranchette and open space to the south. To the east is open space, and to the west, there's ranchette, rural residential, and suburban residential. And existing land uses within a half mile is mainly residential and agriculture. Currently on Hidden Valley Trail, I found only 3 lots that were actually zoned ag and taxed ag. The rest were residential. This was read around for interdepartment review. The Hidden Valley Road District, all members unanimously opposed the zoning change. Currently, the Hidden Valley Trail, from what I can measure, is a 16-foot wide gravel road with a 40-foot wide private access easement. and the infrastructure on the property is private water and sewer. The applicants are proposing to subdivide the property into 3 lots. Layout plan LPL 22-53 is currently under review by staff. As part of that layout plan, the portion of their property with the easement needs to be improved, or they need to dedicate an additional right-of-way to 66 feet and improve the road to 24 feet. There's a portion of the subject property, this little northeast corner right here, that actually of the property is future land use as rural residential district. So there is already rural residential district on that property. Again, rural residential allows large lot residential, which is the predominant use in the area. Staff finds no significant issues with the applicant's request as it appears to be in harmony with existing land uses and is supported by existing roads and infrastructure. The majority of the properties within a half mile are large lot residential. So with that, staff would recommend approval of comprehensive plan amendment CA 22-21 and rezone 22-28.
Thank you, Cody. Questions for Cody? In case you guys are thinking of them up. Cody, you lost me a little bit on your zoning designations, picture, and then your current zoning. Don't we usually see what the comprehensive plan says and what we're...
Yes, so if you look on the screen, sorry,
all right,
I wasn't
I'm ready.
very good at advertising that. The left side is current zoning, and the right side is future land use. And as you can
Okay.
see, part of this property has some rural residential on it, and then I believe someone who lives on this property may have spoken earlier, their zone suburban residential district, which allows quarter-acre lots.
Okay, that picture makes more sense to me than this one. Okay, I understand what you're saying.
I have a question for Cody.
Go ahead.
That little corner that's already rural residential, how big is it? Do you know how many acres or?
I can figure it out for you. Yeah. A little over 1, I'm being told.
Okay.
Additional questions for Cody? So, current zoning is agriculture. I'm still lost in this a little bit. Even though the little corner is not, is that correct?
Future land use is ranchette.
Ranchette,
Yes.
which is 5.
Which is 5, but there's that little corner piece that I have at approximately 1.82 acres. That future land use shows as rural residential.
Okay, so I do need to refer back to your one picture then. Okay. And what's I didn't look, it's 13 acres, 13 and a half, 13.55.
Correct.
All right. Now, we'll have you in the area, right, Cody? You don't need to leave for anything?
No, I'll be here all day.
All right, thank you. We're going to go ahead and do our speaker request forms then. Sarah? Please introduce yourself, just for the record, Sarah.
I'm Sarah Becker. I'm speaking on behalf of myself and my husband, Dustin Becker. I stand here today to oppose the rezoning of the property of 23911 Hidden Valley Trail. I live at 23949 Hidden Valley Trail, which is just down the road from this property. I have a few reasons to oppose the rezoning of this property. First is if more septic tanks are added so close together, they can start to cause infiltration into our groundwater and wells in our area. This can be very harmful to all of us who already live here. Second is if more wells are added in our area, it can place more of a demand on the water tables. This can cause other wells to decrease their supply or even dry up. I know multiple people in the area already are having to haul water to keep up with their own demands, especially right now as we are in a drought. Third, adding more homes onto our single-lane dirt road can increase traffic drastically. Right now, we don't have one specific person to even maintain our road. We try to all work together, and we all have jobs. Sometimes we have a hard time passing each other on certain areas of the road, and it's especially more difficult with delivery trucks. Fourth would be fire safety in our area. Out here, we don't have any fire hydrants or water sources for the fire department to fight any fires. So they have to haul their own water, as I have witnessed back in 2013 when one of our neighbors' house burnt down. Lastly, adding more homes and vacation rentals are going to bring in more people who would be driving up and down our private roads looking to see what is around. We all value this area as a beautiful safe haven. We have chosen to live out here in the beautiful Black Hills to enjoy our privacy and all the wonderful trees and wildlife.
Thank you. Questions for Sarah? How long have you lived in the area, Sarah?
I moved out in 2006 with my mother, Darcy Gunderson,
Okay.
and then my husband he's lived on 23900 Windsong, which is the back side of the property. And then he has put a house on back in, I think, 2010.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Sue. Go ahead, Cody.
Kodak, environmental planner. I forgot to mention, as mentioned before, Gail Schmidt did call me from the Rockerville Fire Department, and she did have concerns. She emailed it to me, and it should be in your guys' packet.
Okay. On 13 and 14, you mean? Yes. Okay. Lexa Olson? Did you want to speak on?
It's Leanne.
Leanne? Okay. I didn't have any other ones for 13 and 14. You have to come up and reintroduce yourself for the record. Thank you.
I was confused about when I signed the paper that I thought I just got to talk about them all at the same time. Michelle Naleen Marwani. I live at 23921 Hidden Valley Trail. We have been there since 1998. So now I'm going to read my official letter that I put together. You're well aware of the fact that every member of the road district vehemently opposes this proposal, adding the additional vacation homes. I appreciate the fact that some work has been done on measuring our wells. I would question. I know that some of the neighboring properties have had their wells recently checked, and we are down, we are considerably down. So whatever's on record might be one thing, but that's not our current reality. We have 9 or 10 homes on the road. Mr. Peterson was incorrect when he said that this property is the first on the right. If you look at the small property that is in orange up there, it's 1.8 acres, and the planning guy who's introduced himself a lot, and I never caught his name, said that so he's kind of using that as some of the recommendation to approve this. What you need to know, as somebody who's been there since the 90s, is this lot was originally not designed for houses. This is just an example of what happens after you approve and approve and approve. That lot was originally designed to be only a well lot and sell water to those houses up there. And I don't think you were probably part of this back then, but you did approve to put a house on that property. But that was never what came forward with the original 1.8 subdivision. So please be aware, what happened in the past is kind of what we're worried about in this case, is if you approve it, then it just keeps moving and it keeps snowballing.
Michelle, can I stop you just? In other words, the access goes through the well lot
It's this,
for the property?
no, it's this little one up in the.
Yeah.
Yes, I understand that.
But no, so he, Mr. Peterson, and I wrote down his question. He said it's the first house on the right. And you can take
Oh,
that
all
for
right.
whatever it's worth. Well, you know what? If I were those people in that small house, or if I were Darcy Gunderson, I'd be pretty offended at that. Take it for whatever it's worth. It's not. He,
It is alongside the access then. It's
no,
not.
they have access to Hidden Valley Trail as well. That 1.8 acres.
Yes, but what I'm saying, it's just alongside of it. It's not part of the access. It doesn't run through it.
No, you are correct.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
I would also. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I would also take issue with a few comments that I think are indicative of what we are up against. In fact, Miss Lee said, "It makes me proud to live in a neighborhood that has vacation rentals." Well, quite frankly, she doesn't live in our neighborhood. This isn't her neighborhood. This isn't her reality. In fact, neither she nor her representatives are going to live in our neighborhood. We live in the neighborhood. Yes, they've already been reckless and they've already had fires in an unapproved fire pit. There's little regard for us. She also mentioned that she hasn't noticed traffic issues to Hidden Valley Trail. They've only owned it for what, a month or two? That certainly isn't setting a precedent. She says you pull over and there's no problem. So is there going to be a handbook that is handed out to vacation renters on her property and then all of the properties that they propose building throughout the neighborhood? Well, here's what you need to do. You need to pull over to this sign.
Michelle, I don't want to do this, but do not refer to people personally.
Okay, I would,
Thank you.
and I wouldn't have had.
I just have a rules to follow, and personal has nothing to do with this meeting. Your opinion has a lot to do with this meeting, and if you're taking exception of previous comments, that's fine. I request that you don't name people and,
Okay, and the only reason
thank
I
you.
did bring that up is because I wrote down the specific
Yeah,
quotes that we were all here
sure,
to.
I understand.
Yep, and I would agree with you.
And I know
because-
the same quotes, I heard them.
Yep,
Thank you.
because I deliberately didn't bring in a lot of the background that these families have a history of.
I'm just saying, meetings get out of order, Michelle, when we get personal about it. This isn't personal. Thank you.
But it is to us. But I take your advice. We don't have snow removal. I'm really interested in what the conditions are. Unfortunately, we didn't have access to that. So that puts us as homeowners in the neighborhood at a distinct disadvantage because we don't know about who's going to upgrade the road. If the planning department is requiring 66 feet now, where does that land come from? What is the requirement on the road? Who's going to upkeep the road? We don't have snow removal. Oh, come on.
I was going to include it later, but Cody, let's just, for the record, include that the road district should get a copy of the conditions from the vacational rental. She referred to that, and then number two, the conditions in regards to the other two items. Is that all right?
Yeah, Costack Environmental Planner. So there are there are no conditions with rezones and comprehensive plan amendments.
Correct.
We can't condition them. The conditions that I'm referring to are the layout plan, which hasn't been finalized yet. It hasn't been sent to the applicants or
Or the
anything.
building permit. For the permit.
Yes, correct.
Excuse me.
For them to move
Not
forward.
building
Once that's done, anybody can do a records request to get that report and those conditions.
Okay.
They can be public, so.
Thank you. She's basically requesting that she'd like to have those if this gets handled.
Yes, and I believe that the Hidden Valley Road District was routed on what was routed on the rezone, the comp plan, the vacation home rental, and the layout plan.
You were running ahead of me because I think that way all 10 members would have access to it.
Well, they wouldn't have
When it's done.
access to the report. They would have to come in and request that or come to the meeting. And just since we're on the topic, the 66 feet of right-of-way isn't for the entire road. I can only require that for their portion of property and the 24-foot wide road for only their portion of property. I can't make them take land from other people.
Okay. Well, you heard it. We tried, Michelle, but
Though
in
that's,
other words, it can be available to you, but apparently not until after,
not until after you approve it.
correct,
Wow.
if it is approved.
Cody Sack, environmental planner. I'll make sure I email him a copy of that, the road district, a copy of that report.
Thank you, Cody. Then I won't pick on you after the meeting. And here comes Megan. She's going to
Kruger
hurt
with the
my
state's
feelings.
attorney's office. I would just like to clarify for the record that all of the conditions are available before the meeting online. Anyone can look at them. You can look at them. We can pull them up right now. It's all available online before the meeting where the item is actually heard.
Megan,
Would you pull them
one
up?
question though that he pointed out was on the one we're on with the comprehensive plan and the rezone. Those conditions,
There are no conditions. because we
right,
can't
are
condition
not, and it's available only with his final doing the
them.
permit.
Because the layout plan is not in front of this board yet, it's not
Correct.
available online. But you
Yes.
can get it in the office.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying that. At least you've got a place now to call, right?
So
Did we help you somewhat on that,
you
Michelle?
did, but it feels like it's a little cart in front of the horse because we only get to look at the plan after the plan's approved, right?
Okay.
Cody Sack, environmental planner. Yeah, so the layout plan hasn't fully been approved yet. It's been sent out for a final comment in our office to make sure that the planner didn't miss anything. The process for plating, just so everyone knows, is it goes layout plan, which is approved by our office, and then it goes in front of, this is going to be a preliminary plan, so it'll go in front of the planning commission and then the board of commissioners. So there's multiple steps to the plating process. Just because the layout plan's approved doesn't mean that they'll be able to subdivide the property. They still have other things that they have to go through.
Cody, don't leave in. What Cody's referring to is when we approve the different plats under the ordinance system, there are some conditions, and these would be conditions that involve the plat, not the rezone and the comprehensive plan. Is that the easiest way to get the clouds out of this?
Correct. You cannot, state statute does not allow you to condition rezones and comprehensive plan amendments, but I can condition plats. And I think right now I have like 9 or 10 of them that they have to meet or request variances to. If they request variances to those, they go in front of the Board of Commissioners. The Hidden Valley Road District will be notified again, and all properties within 500 feet will be sent a letter for those variances.
And those conditions will be available to the public, the next action on the plat.
Correct. When it goes to the so anybody at any point in time, once that plat is approved in our office, can come fill out a records request form for it. We can give it to them. Or if they wait all those conditions, when it goes to the prelim in front of the board, there's a big table that we do and say, are these conditions met? Have they been met before we bring them before the planning commission? So there's multiple ways to see those conditions.
Okay. Thank you, Cody. Does that clarify it somewhat, Michelle? So it's a different process is the platting. I guess I should have said that earlier.
Things are moving into place.
It's
I don't know
part
if it made it clear, but yes.
That's a good point. It is part of moving into place. In other words, they have legal requirements in regards to the plats for the property, which can have conditions. These two particular items cannot have conditions.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, some of this I've already read or addressed. So it should be noted at this time, there's one entry and one exit on Hidden Valley Trail. We have no snow removal, which you are well aware of. We have a history of emergency vehicles not being able to access emergencies in our neighborhood. And now it's proposed to have obstructed traffic by short-term renters with the recommendation that we just pull over for them. Additionally, it was mentioned that the house in the neighborhood that burned. My mom mentioned that the fire trucks had to move across our pasture because they couldn't get through. Not a big deal for us, but in the event of a fire truck not getting out of our pasture or whomever's pasture, it's a significant issue. Please take that into consideration. This is our safety. And I don't feel like that has been clearly addressed. I mentioned the renters that have already been there with the fires. There was mention that the owners or the representatives were there. They weren't there. Well, nobody was there when the fires were going. The water, we've expressed as a road district, our serious concerns about a neighborhood already with water shortages. The two hauling water, the one new well that was just dug with little output. If you allow multiple new homes to be built in our neighborhood, I can't even imagine what you're going to do to us. I can't even begin to imagine. The resources required of this plan would potentially keep us from being able to raise livestock and to hay our properties. This is in direct contrast to the Pennington County Comprehensive Plan. I did read the comprehensive plan that was adopted in 2020. It is meant to examine a number of concerns that affect the quality of life, current development, and future growth of Pennington County. It addresses the same issues that we are going to have to deal with. This proposal to move ranchette residential to rural residential so that we can have more septic systems, more wells, more burden on our road in a plan that hasn't even been approved yet and sounds like it still has a lot of eyes left in the planning department. Currently, my understanding at the beginning of this day, which is getting long, the shop itself requires additional something because we measured it's less than 24 feet from the road. And now we're going to add more houses to that same road. We're interested in who will upgrade the road, who's going to maintain that road. We as a road district cannot afford to take care of somebody's commercial properties that they're hoping to rent half of the year. Well, it snows half the year up there, or part of the year. So what are they going to do? Specifically, in the comprehensive plan that was approved by Pennington County, Goals and Policies 3.1, LUH 1.3 says that travel-oriented tourist commercial uses that shall be located in areas where traffic patterns are oriented to major arterials and highways. Exceptions may be granted for resort or retreat-related development that are site-based and unique and on unique natural features. It seems that you're violating your own policy, and with the approval of the rezoning and the subdivision. Goal LUH 2.6 or LUH 2 says the county has a diverse housing stock that meets the needs of all county residents. This is the opposite of that. This is meeting the no needs of no resident in Pennington County besides a profit-based pursuit. There's nothing in this plan that will mean anything but a financial gain. Nothing. When in fact it says residential uses with different densities or character should incorporate appropriate transitions to reduce potential negative impacts. We are here in math as the Hidden Valley Road District to tell you that there is nothing but negative impact to every person that has been there for decades. Goal LUH 0.3 says the county has attractive, stable, and safe residential areas. And 3.2 says the county should provide for stable neighborhoods by minimizing adverse effects from conflicting land uses. This is a conflicting land use. You are bringing vacation, multiple. Even if the house itself, which now is a 6-bedroom house, and only 6 people can rent it, but even if you approve that, we are imploring you to understand that by your own policy, short and long-term planning, this is nothing but adverse effects from conflicting land uses. And then goal LUH6, new development in Pennington County is designed to enhance protection of the area's natural beauty, with 6.5 saying the county shall encourage proposed residential subdivisions, and it's starting to feel like that, onto portions of the site that are more suitable to accommodating the development and shall require access either directly onto a public road or via a privately maintained road designated to meet county road standards. And it does sound like there is a plan, but if I were one of those top homeowners who has to now give up part of their property to widen the road, I would have, well, let's hear. Let's, here's the.
Kelly, I have a comment too when Cody's done.
Codasac Environmental Planner. So nobody to the north of them is going to be giving up any property. Again, I can only require their specific portion on their property to improve that easement. That's a 40-foot wide easement that's already, if you wrap a map will be a better. So it's already dedicated out. So they can build a road within that if county board or somebody or someone else requires it. That road can be built within that 40-foot easement. You can build a 24-foot wide road in that easement. It is dedicated for that purpose.
Thank you, Cody. Go ahead, Karen.
I'm a treasurer of a road district, and when you keep saying you don't have snow removal, that's up to you guys. You are responsible for your own snow removal. If you go to state law, it tells you what you're supposed to be doing. So when you say you don't have snow removal, that's on you.
And I appreciate that. We totally agree.
Okay, but don't keep bringing it up as a reason against, because you do have the ability to get snow removal.
We do have the ability.
Okay.
But we don't have, you're now asking us to plow so
Yes.
somebody can make money.
No, we're asking you to plow your roads in your neighborhood.
We take
and
care-
You're
we
not
take-
you're not a private road. You're a public road. Once you're a road district, you're a public road. So I've got a few problems with any arguments that involve roads.
We maintain as a neighborhood, we maintain our own road.
Okay.
As one of those people that has a plow, if you're asking us, even with compensation, to now plow for a business venture, that's really hard to handle. And so that's where I'm going. We as a road district, we take care of each other, but we can't take care of somebody's business. And I understand I appreciate your clarification.
You know,
And hopefully
you're responsible for the road. You don't just stop plowing at somebody's house. You plow all the way out to the main road. So
we wouldn't.
I'm a little.
We don't.
Okay.
We don't. We have an informal agreement.
Okay.
But you're now asking us, or somebody's asking us, to start plowing so they can make money. And that's hard to handle. So, please go ahead.
Codasac Environmental Planner. So one thing that we need to focus on here is that this is a rezone to rural residential. It's been thrown out that there's plans to turn those two into vacation home rentals. I have no knowledge of that personally. It could be. It could also just be 2 single-family resident homes. So the applicants can probably speak to that more, but just because they're proposing a VHR on this lot doesn't mean that the next 2 will be vacation home rentals. Single-family residence is what it is. And also, again, the state vacation home rentals by Supreme Court of South Dakota is not considered a commercial business.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
I have one question to Michelle, because we come back to this thing about how unusual this vacation home rental is, that it's not consistent with what's being done in the neighborhood. If Miss Lee were to rent that house out to a renter, maybe the person that has the cat in Spearfish, and she moves in, are you going to plow the road for her, or do you consider her not welcome in the community in that respect? She's a renter, but she's a long-term renter, theoretically. She may be there a year, she may be there a month, she may be there 2 years. But the reality is, Ms. Lee might want to do that. Would you feel better about that?
Well, I'm glad you're asking me about my feelings.
Well, I
No,
want
no,
to illustrate the inconsistency of what you're saying. You're saying you don't, I suspect that as a reasonable person would, you would say, well, yes, I think she should be able to use her property in an acceptable way, and certainly renting would be considered that. She is renting also when she does vacation home rentals, except there's more turnover. The person doesn't become a member of the neighborhood like a person who might rent there, although many renters are not too involved in neighborhoods. Do you see the inconsistency and the difficulty here? And in some ways, I would argue that the impact on the community is far less for vacation home rentals than it is for somebody who comes in and rents permanently. I mean, I, I, I know that you all want your community to stay the same, but it's not possible for that to be, indefinitely. We can't say none of you would sign an agreement right now and say, my property will only be used for what I am using it for right now. When I sell it, there will be a stipulation that no one may do anything different on it. I mean, that's a hypothetical, I realize that, but we wouldn't accept that, would we? And this whole thing is an example of the frustration of development. You live not too far from Rapid City. And this is what happens, is there's development, and we just have to regulate it well. And I want you to be aware of how difficult it is to do. But that's what needs to be done, I
Jim,
think.
I need to give her a chance to answer your
Sure, I'm
question
sorry.
because
I,
we're
I
on
didn't
her
mean to
time.
give you a speech.
We're on
but-
her time.
Yes, okay, I'm sorry.
And Michelle, I got to limit it. You've gone on, and we've asked a number of questions, but we've gone on for quite a,
We should have.
we have asked questions. I'm not trying to undo it, but usually once you get beyond 10 minutes, I'm looking to slow things down.
I would
Go
prefer
ahead.
to not be here as well. So going back to your question, and I think it maybe I didn't speak. We don't have formal snow removal. So with your hypothetical, we take care of each other. We always have on the road. What you're asking us to do now is take care of people that are making $700 a night times however much, right?
Well,
So that's hard to stomach. And is it legal? Is
if
it not?
Miss Lee rented the house, she would make money. If you rented your house, you would make money. Do you see that?
No, and I agree with you.
That isn't.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So is it six one, half dozen of the other? I understand your point, Ms. McGregor, and your point, Mr. Coleman, in terms of obviously we've always taken care of each other in our neighborhood, and we will continue to take care of each other. What you're asking is taking an awful lot from us with zero in return. I understand the development. I've lived in Hill City since the 70s. It is not the same. It is not the same. And then you have those challenges put before you every week. But there's a human aspect of this when somebody who hasn't lived in your neighborhood walks in and says, here's my plan, you guys deal with it. You deal with the potential water shortages. You guys deal with the lack of access. You guys deal with my renters at night that are partying with my You deal with that. What we know is that the deputies are not going to come out. They will not come out if somebody is loud over there. So that's us every night having to deal with it and maybe talking to somebody in the office the next day. So I'm concerned that they have 10 people on their plan when law allows for 6. I'm concerned that the plan isn't worked out. I'm concerned that the shop is too close to the road as it is. There is a whole bunch of unknowns here, and I think it is premature to make a decision at best. And I think it is reckless to make this decision. And that's what I would ask. I would ask that you listen to the people in our neighborhood that have to deal with this.
Thank you. The only thing I want to add here, just for the commission too, the questions of road district need to go through the auditor. There are a number of legal directions that the auditor in Pennington County can give you in regards to road districts because you are a separate government. And in Pennington County, the Board of Commissioners selected the auditor's office as the one to go to in regards, and there are a number of state things that I pointed out. For instance, the unincorporated road tax is involved. So each property owner gets some money back on their things. Those sort of things are all available through the auditor, and they can give you an idea what you're dealing with. So I'll take that as a point well taken that the road district is certainly involved in these two issues.
You mentioned that there would be a place to park off beside the shop. It's my understanding that as a road district, we have to approve anything that comes off our road. So if they are expanding their parking by their shop for their office, that would have to run through us as well.
Yeah. I'm not going to answer that one, but you certainly can ask them and see what the requirements are. I would think you're probably headed in the right direction.
Yep, it happened to me on a different property that I had years ago. So.
Thank you, Michelle.
Oh, thank you.
Jim, I see your hand in here. It's enough to make me want to. Can you finish what you've got to say in about 5 minutes? Because I'm going to make a break, or we can take a break right now, whichever you like.
You guys need a break? I can wait.
Any of the commissioners like to have a break? All right, we'll reconvene. We're going to go on a little bit of a hiatus here for 10 minutes. Thank you. And we'll call the recess to an end here. Anybody out in the hallway, please come back in. Okay, we're going to reconvene the meeting here at whatever time you've got, Jerry, and we'll go on from there. We're discussing items number 13 and 14 together. That's where we're at. There's been no motion on the floor, so catch up anybody that just walked in. At this point in time, we are, I believe we just finished the last of we have another. Please come forward and introduce yourself just for the record, please. And you may discuss item 13 and 14 at the same time.
My name is Judy Mildren, and I'm the Secretary Treasurer for the Hidden Valley Trail Road District. And I'd like to address the snow removal. And as a fellow treasurer, you probably understand that the road district is only given a certain amount of money. We did get a little bit of a increase this year, a couple $100 extra, I think, but typically we get about $3,000. And so I'd like to explain that we use that at our discretion where we feel, obviously, the need is greatest. And so we have chosen, as a group, to put the bulk of the funds on the beginning of the road. So it doesn't surprise me, Anita, that your road is nice up there and you can pass. That's a much wider area. As the road continues down, we have more than a mile of road to maintain on $300,000. So that's why we've chosen to do snow removal ourselves. And, you know, whoever lives, the road gets plowed. Sometimes we don't. We all have four-wheel vehicles, and depending on the amount of snow, we can get up and down the road. That might be a concern with the 3 new homes if they are vacation homes or whatever. If they're not used to rural living, I don't know, but I'm not going to belabor that point. I have heard from Jim that the water is not an issue. The fire chief for the Rockerville Fire Department. I'm not a public speaker, so bear with me. I'm a social worker of all things. Did call and speak with Cody and express her concern, her grave concern about our water shortage. Whatever the reports are that he's looking at, I don't think reveal what's happening right now. We are having a water shortage, and it is concerning to the fire department. So to me, that's our verification of that as a fact. The fact that the road is narrowing as it goes down. It is impassable in snow, and it is difficult to pass if there is a truck. That's a fact, too. We live there, we know, we see it. The septic tanks, I don't know if that will weigh anything, but it is a concern. You know, adding more septic tanks, we do worry about groundwater contamination. But the fire danger, the water supply, and the road access and the additional wear and tear on the road is a concern. We do have people drive down the road. It's a beautiful area. We are blessed. We do have people coming up and down the road, and it is our concern that people will do that. I want to thank each one of you for being so patient as we get up here and share our hearts. We understand that doesn't matter. Progress is progress. But what we are very concerned about is the additional homes, the water shortage, the grave fire danger, and the additional wear and tear on the roads that we don't have the money for. Even if they built the homes and got the tax money, it's not going to be enough to maintain the road to where it should be. And we do the best we can. And we're grateful. We appreciate having a road district. That's why we set it up. Do you have any questions for me?
I do I'm the secretary or treasurer of ours, and we have 12 members. Each year, I furnish the membership a total dollar amount. I don't do the individual ones of what taxes have not been paid that would have been paid if we hadn't have been in a road district. In other words, on our particular road district, the 12 members, it's going on, getting close to $5,000 that we all, as 12 members, avoid paying in taxes, which gives an idea when they look at the budget of the road district, whether we're doing a good job or a bad job, because the county wouldn't have come out for the $5,000 anyway.
True.
But it does give them an equation to look at of the performance. So I would suggest that with your 10 members, it's really worked well. In the last 5 or 6 years, we've been doing that as far as loosening up the pocketbook a little about the expenses that you do incur, so.
And we do. I should have stated that. It's not that we only spend $3,000 on the road.
Right.
We only get the $3,000 on that road. We spend much more on the road. We have people that will rent us the vehicles to do, or the equipment to do it. We foot the bill for that. We do what we can, and we do. But that's a great idea. I
Michelle
appreciate that.
quoted it as the neighborhood jumps in there and does it.
Right.
And I understand that living on a road district.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay. And thank you again. This is taking way longer than we thought it would, but we appreciate your time.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question. Over. 1 second. Tell me how far down the road that you live in comparison, because I understand the road a mile or further at this point in time. And then how long have you lived there?
We bought the property in 2015, and we are, let's see, every time I tell somebody that GPS is wrong, to come a half a mile down and then turn right a half a mile. So we're exactly a mile.
Okay, thank you.
All right, but we're not the last road. There is the last home. There are more homes past us.
Thank you, Judy.
Thanks.
Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
We're on the other two issues.
Sure.
I won't read everything again, but I would like to submit these for record. But I do have a couple comments. Mr. Peterson states that that well.
I have to stop you. You have to reintroduce yourself
I'm
just
sorry,
for
I'm sorry. I'm Darcy
appropriateness.
Gunderson. I live
Thank you.
across the street from the proposed rezoning property. But again, he made a statement about the depth of the well and everything. The people that lived there previously, they lived there for 3 years, and it was kind of like a vacation home. It's like every 2 or 3 months they would come for a weekend. I mean, there wasn't much usage or anything of the well. So, I mean, with whatever records they've got, I'm sure it shows that there's quite a bit of water in there. Well, there would be because there's not a lot of use. And they didn't have any animals, so I think that's very misleading. And, again, like I said, I do have to haul water, and the water tables are low, but, since this well hasn't been utilized, I think that isn't something that needs to be addressed. But basically, the other comment I had was, if you approve this as a rezoning, and they want to separate this into 2 other properties, whether they want to put additional vacation rentals on them, or decide to sell those properties. But at that point, those 3 acres can be sold off too, and put down to smaller acreage, and we can have more and more homes in that area. And that is just a big concern, because it's just a big snowball. Once you approve it, maybe those homes would be there for a couple of years. Somebody else decides to move and say, hey, I want to break this down and sell it. And then somebody else decides to come in and build another home. That just is a big concern with doing the whole rezoning.
Thank you.
But
Questions?
go ahead and-
Jim, before you go ahead and you can head up to get used to introducing yourself. I've seen your hand up. I just want to let the audience know we are going to lose 2 members of the commission here in a short time, and I would like to get this acted upon since we've had all this testimony prior to losing those commissioners. So if you could be efficient, since you're kind of a walk-on, Jim, and I know you're verbose when you want to be,
Well,
you're
I'm
good.
the applicant, though,
Yeah,
right?
oh
So,
yeah, I'm
yeah.
going, and that's what I'm saying. I've got other things to do with the applicant certainly is going to have their opportunity to
Was
speak
she
to.
done?
Okay,
Was she done?
yes.
Yeah, okay. So thanks, Charlie. Thanks, all of you. So the well, was commented about, my comment about the specific well on the subject property. And I just want to reiterate that is, again, 500 feet. It contains 660 gallons of storage. And the recovery rate, whatever, is really what a gallons per minute we'll talk about, but that in a 24-hour period is 8,640 gallons that well will produce. And 6 people, if we go by 120, we're using less than 800 gallons a day. And, so I just want to put it in perspective. So that's my comment about that well and some of the other wells on the other. But I want to talk about use because that's what we're talking about is rezoning the use. If we look, it's ag now, but what's confusing on this one is in the future land use, it has 2 different future land uses on this property. And that's what maybe confused you. One is rural residential, and then one is ranchette. We're asking for the ranch or the rural residential zoning. So that yellow, does that make sense? Is everybody's aware of that? Okay, I didn't know if that was. So if we look at what ag is now, there's 24 items on ag that's approved. I don't have to come in front of you to get. And if we look at rural residential, there's 10. So it's narrowed up. Of those 10, 8 of them are the same as on ag. So of the 2 that aren't, one is community signs, doesn't apply to this, and one is temporary structures if you're building. So the point is, we're removing a use. We really haven't changed anything with the exception of density, which is the 3 acre versus 10. But in terms of use, there's no, we've limited ourselves by going to we eliminate some of the egg type stuff. So I think that's worth noting. The other comments that seem to be brought out, and I hope it's clear, is we're asking for a rezone to put 2 more lots on this 13-plus acre lot. We're not asking for CUPs or for nightly rentals on those 2 lots. So it's not, that keeps being brought up as the commercial aspect, and I won't hammer that because you guys are pretty familiar with all that. So those are some kind of key points. Again, when we talk about the water and the road, and one other thing is I have not seen conditions on this yet. So the disadvantage that the other folks are thinking,
You mean on the plat?
there are no conditions because there's
That's not in front of us,
no
Jim.
plat yet.
Right.
Yeah, so I just want to clarify that. I haven't seen them either. They might be crazy, who knows? But anyway, so those are just some comments. And
I'll help you. We haven't seen them either yet.
Yeah, I know. Okay. So anyway, questions you can, I'll be able to
Thank you.
answer them. Good.
Anyone else before I have the applicant come up again? Would you like to come up again? Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. Commission, any comments before we go to an action?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I would personally support the future land use ranchette, the size, the 5 acres. I don't believe I can support 3 acres because that opens it wide open since we don't have a plat that they could actually put 4 lots in there instead of 3. So
Just to clarify, we cannot, I understand what you're saying, but we cannot make a recommendation to the applicant.
No, I'm just, this
Because
is
we're
my
reviewing
personal
it based
opinion.
upon the request, but I understand what you're saying. And Cody, you walk back up. Did you want to state something before we look at an action?
Sorry, Cody Sack, environmental planner. No, I was just walking back up here for the.
Jim, you raised back up here.
I sent you a draft of did you guys get that? So it is the 2 lots, okay?
Right.
I would, I guess, make the comment though that when you start having to dedicate additional right away, the lot size could change. So it may be 13 now, or you can have 4 lots, but if it goes underneath that, they wouldn't be able to. Just for.
Any other comments? I'm just going to throw in one before we look at a motion. Jim kind of skirted by it, but density is an issue. It's always been an issue in my mind when I look at these things. Irregardless of what the listed items are, density is still in my mind, and I believe that's on the mind of most people that live in Pennington County. So that's my comment. Chair would address a motion on item number 13.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I would move to deny CA 22-21.
Is there a second to Kevin's motion?
Second.
Moved and seconded to deny. And let me get this so I get the number right, folks. CA 22-21. Discussion from the audience. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay,
To do a roll call.
now, let's do a roll call.
Charlie? Or, to deny.
Yes, it's to deny. I vote to deny.
No.
Yes to deny.
Yes.
No.
Just a minute.
Yes.
No.
Got 4 noes and 4 yeses and 3 noes.
That's what I've got.
2/3.
Okay, the motion carries. Now we need to address item number 14. We do need a motion. and it will be open to discussion.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I'd also move to deny RZ 22-28.
Is there a second to that motion? Moved and seconded to deny. I'm flipping over again. I want to make sure for the record that we do get the right number. It's RZ 22-28. Discussion from the audience, from the commission. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Aye.
Aye.
I suggest that we do the same.
Who
Gary?
seconded that on the rezone?
Karen, I think.
Karen?
Roll call vote, please. To deny. Aye.
Jim?
No.
Karen?
Yes, to deny.
Yes,
Other Kevin, sorry.
yes.
No.
Yes.
No.
Kind of like every other.
Same.
Five yeses?
4, I think.
I thought it was 4-3. Came up the same, didn't it?
Charlie, yes. Jim, no. Apologize for that.
Okay. Vote was the same, 4-3. We're on to item number 15.
Cody Sack, environmental planner. Item 15 is minor plan unit development amendment PU 22-11. It's to amend a plan unit development to allow a vacation home rental on the subject property. The applicant and landowner is Kristen Bennett, Haven Homes LLC. Location of
Cody?
the property.
I'm sorry, could you speak up just a little
Oh,
bit?
yes, I apologize. Would you like me to read it again?
Please start over.
Okay. So item 15 is minor plan unit development amendment PU 22-11. It's to amend the plan unit development to allow a vacation home rental on the subject property. The applicant and landowner is Kristen Bennett, Haven Homes LLC. Location of the property is 22611 Hazel Lane. Current zoning is plan unit development district and existing land use is residential. This has been heard in front of the planning commission several times. It was last continued on October 12th, 2022. For the applicant to work with staff to bring the property into compliance for the septic system. The septic system is sized for 3 bedrooms, but the applicant's floor plan showed 4 bedrooms. The applicant has contacted an installer who has contacted our office about upgrading that septic system. So that issue is being taken care of. With that, staff is going to recommend approval of minor planning and development amendment PU 22-11 with conditions.
Thank you, Cody. Questions for Cody? I've got one, Cody, and whether it's something Jason and Brittany and you can consider for the future. When we're dealing with, and I should have brought this up before, but planned unit development amendments, I would like to see the personnel or your department furnish the, what I call anniversary date, when it finally, or first was put on into the system as a planned unit development.
It was April 28th, 2003. It's in that table under criteria.
I thought I caught it there under
Yep.
that one deal, but
Yep.
if we could get that listed, that would help me as a member when I'm reviewing this.
Yep, absolutely.
Thank you. Any other questions for Cody? Okay, we've got some speaker request forms here. Dessel Peterson. And before Dessel introduces herself, I have to indicate that I do know Dessel, having served on a committee with her, just for the record. Thank you.
Mr. Chair and members of the commission, my name is Dessel Peterson. I live at 22598 Hazel Lane, which is kitty corner from the particular property that's before you. And I'm going to start with a question because something that the chair said makes me wonder whether I should even go forward with my questions. I understand that the commission has recognized and has said that
the staff does not have enough enforcement staff to really follow through on a lot of the complaints that come through. And therefore, it seems to me that the commission has to rely on the responsibility of the particular property owners to ensure compliance with the requirements that have been established. So my whole presentation is talking about the lack of responsibility of this applicant. Is that something that is not appropriate? Because you said something about not being able to speak about personalities of people?
That's what I was referring to when we make a comment that a particular person quoted something and then we name that person, we go through it. Our commission has nothing to do with personal. We listen to the comments. We don't judge on their accuracy or legality. We judge on what the overall presentation to this commission has been. As far as the enforcement, and that's a good point. This isn't the first time I've heard that on the enforcement. We do lack and are limited on our enforcement and our spending capabilities for enforcement of any ordinance. However, one has to also feel that we got to look to the future. And you were part of the future. And it may allow for more funding, and more funding may be allowable for these sort of things for the planning department to do enforcement. But yes, in Pennington County, a great deal of our cooperation depends on a democracy, the person doing what they said they were going to do. Now, based on that, if you want to go on with yours, only when I speak of personality, I'm talking about control of the meeting. It is not wise in any shape or form to name any one of us as a problem that you take exception with. I would definitely question you and probably restrict you from taking anyone in the audience or the planning department on as personality during your conversation. Other than that, that's what I was referring to. Thank you.
That's certainly not my intent.
Sure.
But what I am suggesting to you is that this applicant is not a responsible property owner when it comes to the operation of vacation home rental. And you cannot rely on her to ensure compliance with the conditions that you have in your ordinance and which you attach to any approval. And I'll give you examples. For number one, this applicant has been operating for 4 years without a permit. She said she didn't know. But she also represents herself as the president and founder of a corporation that has offices in multiple states. She must understand and must realize that, in fact, different jurisdictions have different requirements. She should have known that Pennington County may have had requirements she did not check. She is not responsible in that respect. Number two, she has continued to operate even though she now knows she needs a permit. She has continued to advertise for more than 6 guests, even though the inspection for the septic system says she can have no more than 6. I have a screenshot from Saturday showing that she is still representing her property as being available, and I would provide that as part of the record. And it shows that she is advertising.
So please turn it in when you're done.
I will.
To Jerry.
Yeah. She is advertising for 10 guests and 4 bedrooms, when this inspection report has said she can have no more than 6 and 3. In her written submission to you, she said she is no longer renting. Well, there's no evidence of that. This is from Airbnb. As of Saturday, it is being presented as still being rented for 10 guests and 4 bedrooms. So I would add that to the record.
Thank you. While Dessa's away, I'll make sure that the commission understands what Dessa was asking me is that she's basing this on her opinion. And I understand that. I'm not accepting it as a personal vendetta or accusation at all. It's your personal opinion that this
Right.
is the matter.
She's,
Thank you.
she's certainly representing that it's still available. I don't know. She says she's not renting, but there's no indication in Airbnb that she is not renting that. Number 3, she has been operating a death trap. There have been no egress windows for the upper bedrooms, and if there had been a fire, the risk to the guests was extremely high. Again, she said, well, I didn't know I didn't need egress windows. You will hear there's a common theme. I didn't know. She is now in the process of supposedly of getting egress windows installed based on requirements from the staff. But as I've said, for 4 years, she operated with a death trap as the home. Number 4, she has a dangerous and unlawful fire pit on the property. My husband, who is with me, Mark Fritzler, is a member of the Doty Volunteer Fire Department and was assistant chief. He has not done an official inspection, but he has observed that it does not meet the requirements of the Black Hills Fire District. And in particular, the grass goes right up to the fire pit. And there is a diagram that the Black Hills Fire District puts out, showing that there has to be at least 3 feet of surface around the fire pit. And she, again, never checked to find out what was required for that particular fire pit. And she's done nothing to control the use of the fire pit during a ban. I think in your record you will see that a neighbor had to step in and ask the guests to put out a very large fire during a period of time when we had a fire ban in the hills. Now, when I notified her of the illegality of her fire pit, I did it by an email. This is the response that she gave me. Quote, I was not aware that the fire ring is not compliant. I would appreciate the fire department or your husband letting me know this sort of thing firsthand so I can improve. If someone would like to access the property and evaluate the fire pit or anything else on the property, I'd be happy to accompany them, or at least would like to know in advance who is coming over to inspect things. What I want you to note is, again, here is this I didn't know. But in addition, she didn't ask me, how is it not compliant? Who do I contact to find out what to be done? She is assuming that it's going to be my responsibility to follow up with the requirements and that she will, quote unquote, accompany anybody who's come in. But she takes no responsibility for assuming no responsibility for looking into the matter herself. Number 5. She has misrepresented the facts of the property in her application to the county. In an email to Cody, she said that the property where she lives is adjacent to the subject property. That is not in fact correct and had to be pointed out by one of the neighbors. Number 6, she has not been cooperative with the planning staff. You will see in the minutes or the record that it's attached to what's been provided to you. There's a memo from Brittany Molitor, the planning director, to Commissioner Rossnecht. She said, Cody tried to reach Miss Bennett, and it was only when he said he would recommend denial that she responded. That was a memo from October 8th. So I'm suggesting to you, there are 6 examples of how she is not a responsible person, and we in the neighborhood have no faith that she would comply or enforce the requirements that the county attaches to vacation home rentals. And as a result, I would ask that you deny the application. Thank you.
Thank you, Jessel. Question for Jessel. And again, just for the record, my understanding of what Jessel asked, she's stating her opinion, and I understand that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we've got another one here. Michelle Hovland.
My name is Michelle Hovland, and I'm speaking on behalf of myself and my husband, Steve Hovland. We live at 22595 Norris Peak Road, and part of our 200 acres is up in that area. Our land has been in my husband's family since 1919. I appreciate the opportunity to address you here again, as I did during the last meeting. Being here today, I realize the growth of the Black Hills is frustrating for all of us, including you and those of us who were born here and have lived here a long time. We feel this committee is our block to slow the progress. And however, at sometimes when we're here, and as you mentioned earlier, the flexibility in your regulations, sometimes it seems to us has allowed things that to happen that aren't really in the current residences' benefit, but actually to the benefit of the people who are moving in or trying to build, and particularly those that are making money. And obviously, we know that our county needs money, and so we need growth, but we would appreciate you always thinking of us, the people that have lived here. So I have a lot to say that kind of goes over what Dessel has said. My whole letter is about trust, and that Kristen has not helped any of us trust her. So I've had limited interactions with Kristen and really don't know her personally, and I do not wish her any ill will. In addition, as one of the larger landowners in our area, my husband and I believe in the rights of property owners. We believe that they're very important. However, I'd like to address a statement Kristen made in her latest letter to Pennington County, where she stated she has endured a lot of hostility over this licensing matter, when in fact, she has been working hard to comply. When this process began, Kristen emailed the entire neighborhood to inform us of her intentions, and some of us took the opportunity to respond to her message. My letter, which are in the record, I hope you will read my letters, because I tried to be as comprehensive as I could and did address at least the fire part that Dessel did. My letter expressed concerns our family has with renting her house without a Pennington County permit, and her statements to me and to the county staff that in the future she may want to turn the barn on the rental property into a commercial endeavor, specifically a wedding barn. My letter also pointed out sections of the Pennington County requirements that were to be met before renting the property. Kristen did not respond to my letter, however, her daughter did, expressing the unfair hostility Kristen had endured during the process. Kristen herself has also made statements to the neighbors about how no one in the neighborhood is anyone neighborly any longer. However, as this may be Kristen and her family's position, it is not my family's position, or I believe it's not the position of most of the neighborhood. As two of only a handful of people who lived in the area before the neighborhood was developed, my husband and I were highly concerned about the sort of people who would form this new neighborhood, which was about 80 acres. However, we consider ourselves blessed with the vast majority of people who live here, and we find them friendly, responsible, and caring of their neighbors. Of course, all neighborhoods have small issues, but in the years since the land was divided up and sold, which was around 2007, the only issues that have caused a great amount of friction have been those which Kristen has been involved in. Because Kristen has a history and a pattern of not following the rules, which existed before she moved into the area. And that is upsetting to most of the community. So when she says she has been working hard to comply, I do not believe it is true. Kristen's daughter's letter also expressed how shocked Kristen was that she was required to obtain permission from Pennington County before renting the home. I believe this is also the position Kristen has taken with the county on this matter, that she was surprised the permit was required. I find this to be curious, as Kristen is obviously a person who has built a successful business, owns a beautiful home in an affluent area, and owns at least 2 rentals, the one in this area and one that she mentioned in a letter her daughter mentioned that was on the eastern side of the state. This sort of success only comes with paying attention to detail, so it is very difficult for me to believe that for years, Kristen did not know the permit was needed. When I first received the planned unit development notice, I called the county to discuss my concerns and was told Kristen had been difficult to get in touch with over the years and that she had expressed interest in eventually making the barn into a wedding venue. I say this just to make the point that even though Kristen seems to have presented herself as always following the rules, I believe she actually avoided them. We understand the county staff has recommended approval of the changes Kristen is seeking. We would like the committee to take the people who have voiced their opinions to you and to Kristen through this process to be taken seriously, as we are the ones who have dealt with Kristen through the years and will deal with the consequences of this result. We only want to protect our residential neighborhood from becoming a place of annoyance because of one person's actions. And finally, I would like to address the fact that when one area neighbor contacted the county staff on August 14th, 2019, with a complaint that Kristen's property was being used as a vacation home rental, there was no action taken until February 18th of 2020. And then only the VRBO website was checked, even though at the time Airbnb was equally as a major site. And that is where Kristen rented her property. This is very disheartening to us. And I feel that this error has really complicated this whole situation. So, thank you.
Questions for Michelle? Thank you.
I have a question.
Oh, go ahead.
Going back to that VRBO thing. So you're saying that somebody called the county and asked them, and they said, yeah, we checked VRBO and it's not listed there.
Correct, and that's listed in, I have one more thing after this.
And they didn't check Airbnb?
No. And in fact, when I called initially over, when I first got the notice, I was the one that asked, how could this possibly be? And it was going to be listed as not an Airbnb, or not a vacation home rental, but a bed and breakfast. And I said, how could this possibly be a bed and breakfast when Kristen doesn't live on the property and her property's not adjacent, or it's not contiguous, excuse me.
Right.
And I was told that, Kristen said it was adjacent. Well, Kristen's a very sly person, and she knows the difference between adjacent and contiguous, and that's what she used. And so anyway, after that phone call, it was changed to vacation home rental.
Okay. Did you check Airbnb and did you then call them back and tell them?
I did not. My neighbor did this. I was not the one to check this. So, but that person is here if maybe
strange.
They want to speak.
Very strange, yeah.
And then the other thing I have is on the packet on page, this is just a question, page 3 and 4, number 17 and 18. Excuse me, it says the planned unit development consists of 3 residential lots ranging in the size from 3.3 to 8 to 10. And I see that, I was like, well, is that new? And then I looked down and that's what was approved in 2003. But can you just explain to me does that mean that there could be 3 other homes put on her property if she wished?
Cody?
Cody Stack, environmental planner. No, so the PUD, when it was approved in 2003, was approved. There's 3 lots within that PUD. So there's those 3 lots. So that's saying that those 3 lots can have each a residential house on it.
They each have one.
Yep, and then they can have guest houses, and I think accessory uses is what that condition reads.
Yeah.
So she couldn't have 3 houses on her property.
That's what I thought. I just wanted to clarify. Thanks, Cody. Okay.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I have one more. Is it Lori and Mike?
Lori Beckbaugh.
Yep.
Well, good day, planning commissioners. It's been a long one, huh? Yeah. My name is Lori Beckvar, and Mike, my husband Mike, and I live at 22640 Merchant Road, which is a part of Merchant Estate Homeowners Association. And the applicant to this amendment, property amendment, also lives within this homeowners association. She lives at 22640 Hazel Lane. So I served as the president of the Merchant Estate Homeowners Association from 2014 to 2020. Just recently handed the reins over to Marlena Dole. So my statements here to you today is dealing with our experience with the applicant's non-compliance of the covenants running with the land where she lives. This has been a long-standing issue. And I believe that my statements are relevant to the property of, on the topic 15, because it exemplifies a pattern of non-compliance with property rules. So the vacation.
Lori,
Yes.
I do want to interject here that as a commission, just so you know, we do not consider the enforcement of covenants. You speak on the issues as if you'd be much better off speaking on the issues as if they were involved in the community or your own opinion.
Okay, so I guess our question is then, we'll ask with this pattern of non-compliance, it is being replicated on the property at question. It has been rented for many years without permit. And there have been issues. In August of 2021, I actually had to drive over there and talk to the renters. They had built a fire that was as high as the house. And it, it was a no ban burn at that time in Pennington County. And so they put it out and apologized. I've also had renters come to our home asking how to contact the owner. There had been issues with the home, and they didn't know how to contact her. And another time, a couple came over, and they too didn't know how, they lost their dog, and they too didn't know how to contact her. So she's been renting the property. It has been rented for years, and there have been issues, as I explained. And so, there have been many non-compliance issues with our covenants, even as early as last week. And they deal with her renting her own home there as a vacation rental, and that is prohibited under our covenants. We have had to have our attorney step in and write her letters. And then she did finally stop renting it as a vacation rental when she received the attorney letter and she bought the property that is now in question. Just last week, we had to write her another letter. There's been a perpetual non-compliance issue with horses that has been going on for years. There's only two horses permitted on her property, and she's had as many as 5, 6, 3, 4. Finally, we've given her 2 weeks to become in compliance with the 2 horses. And so these issues of non-compliance continue. We have little confidence that there'll be compliance with the 21 requirements that are in the application with this property. So that's my statement.
Questions? Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I don't have any more speaker request forms. Anyone else from the audience? Please. Please come up, introduce yourself for the record, and go ahead.
My name is Byron Altman. I live adjacent to the property immediately to the south at 13206 Lewis Drive. I'm the culprit that kept reporting her. I noticed activity over there in 2019. This was shortly after she bought it. I notified the county that I thought there was something going on. I never heard anything more about that. Again, this year, there was a knock at my door. The same person that Lori talked about had lost her dog. Did I see it? I said, well, you're staying over there? Oh, yeah, we rent it. Okay. I'm back to the county and I notify them again. And they looked on the Airbnb site. Oops, yeah. Fill out the form and, well, what box do I check? Illegal use. Fine. So here we are down the road. And I'm in support of Dessel. She speaks the truth. Michelle speaks the truth. And I need to ask you guys, have I ever stood before you in a tirade? Yes or no?
Not that I've seen.
Okay. Do you think I've ever lied to you?
I have to question. It just would be inappropriate for us all to go down and comment. I mean, I apologize.
Okay,
but
because I've been accused of that and threatened with a lawyer. So I'm just trying to find out how bad I've been. And there have been some other issues raised here relative to the vacation home rentals. And I would disagree on the traffic issue. As we have vacation rentals up, there's two of them up in our meadow. And there have been side-by-sides, 4x4s, and motorcycles roaring all over the place and driving over a neighbor's property. And he's put up barricades, but that doesn't seem to stop people from wandering across private property. So there is an increase in traffic. In order to get to this particular vacation home, people have to drive around 3 sides of my property. And I'm not against people using their property, but there have got to be some conditions, so that, good neighbors. Why would someone move to the hills? Who lives out rurally? How many of you guys live rural? Why did you move there? Was it because you wanted a lot of noise? You wanted a lot of dust on the road? You wanted people playing music, building big fires, or whatever? You moved out for peace and quiet. And then people who want to rent vacation homes in rural areas, and we are a rural residential community, they are not there to walk up and down Main Street, Rapid City. They're there to enjoy the hills, and they bring their equipment with them. 4x4s, ATVs, side-by-sides, motorcycles. That's just being a tourist. Anyway, this particular property is not being shepherded by a responsible person. So I ask you to deny. Thank you.
questions for Larry? Thank you. Anyone else from the audience that'd like to speak on this matter before we look at an action? Sure, you can. You didn't burn up your welcome, Michelle.
Michelle Hovland. I just want to bring up that Kristen does not ever face us. She has not come to any of these meetings. She's always busy. She does not really, she hasn't made, personally, if this was me, I may go door to door. In fact, when there was actually the people that built Lori's house years ago came door to door when they wanted to do something with their driveway. And so the fact that Kristen's not here today, has never been to any of these meetings, and I know she doesn't also even go to her don't know what that's called, the little group meeting that Lori talked about. And she's not here today, has not ever, she will write us emails, but she will not face us. I find that curious also. Just wanted to say that. Thank you.
Thank you. Cody? Is the applicant or the representative here, or have they indicated other than the letter or email we received in our packet?
Cody second for Madam Planner, no, she is not here. She is at a meeting, I believe. She's in Arizona.
I just wanted to make sure that was on the record, and you haven't received any other instructions that you're supposed to give us?
No, that
Other
is
than
the
in
email.
that.
The email that she sent in is the only correspondence that I've got from her.
Okay.
Right.
I usually look your way when, that's why I sit down here, Gary, is because then I can look your guys' way when somebody's got to initiate an action. And we've got two members going to be leaving in a little bit, and let's get this one done.
Mr. Chairman, I'd offer a motion to deny.
Second.
Moved and seconded to deny. Be PU 22-11. Discussion.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
just in good conscience, after reading the information and hearing the testimony, I just can't support the move to do this.
Any other comments in
Mr. Chairman.
discussion?
I regret that we don't have some kind of qualifying provision for people who make application, but I know we don't. And so technically, we can't deny someone simply because if they say they will comply, we presume that they will, I guess. But in this case, it seems so egregious, and her absence here suggests that we would be poorly served if we were to not deny this. So ignorance of the law is no excuse, but I know this happens occasionally, but I will inform my vote in that way, I think.
Any other comments? Any other discussion from those of the audience would like to add on to this? Any other from the commission? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. On to item number 16.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we combine 16 and 17 together for purposes of discussion, but vote separately.
Is there a second to your
Second
motion?
that.
Moved and seconded to combine items numbers 16 and 17. I believe they have the same planner. Is that correct? I didn't flip to 17 yet. For purposes of the discussion, action will be taken on an individual basis. We'll take a 2/3 vote. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. You may discuss or put on the table item number 16 and 17 for discussion. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Jason Tennyson is Assistant Planning Director. Agenda item number 16 is minor planned unit development amendment 22-14 to amend the existing planned unit development to remove a condition of approval in order to vacate an access and utility easement on the subject property. And agenda item number 17 is vacation of easement 22-03 to vacate an access and utility easement on the subject property. The applicants are Byron and Kristen Mobley. He was here earlier. Yep, he's still sitting here. He said he had to leave, but he's still here. Location of the property is near the intersection of Sienna Meadows Lane and Sawmill Road. It is 3.3 acres, currently zoned planned unit development. It is vacant of any structures or utilities. Access is off Sawmill Road, and there's no special flood hazard area on the property. The request was sent out for interdepartmental review, and there were no objections or concerns received. Staff's analysis of the request is that the applicant is proposing to vacate a 66-foot wide platted easement on the subject property, and that's on the screen. This is the actual Exhibit A for the vacation of easement, but this does identify where on the property that it is. You can see this is Lot 5, and it is on the easternmost side of his property. Like I said, the easement is located only on the subject property. The 20-foot easement will be dedicated to Black Hills Electric Co-op for the existing overhead utility lines. And it's kind of, I don't have an aerial photo, I'm sorry, but there is 20-foot or 20-foot required easement to go down the middle of this. I may have it on my other presentation, but they are going to dedicate that for the overhead utility lines. Condition number 12 of the PUD currently states that any plat of the subject property shows continuation of Rockwood Road adjoining Sawmill Road, and that this area of land be dedicated as an access easement with a width of 66 feet. On February 1st of this year, the Board of Commissioners approved vacation of right-of-way 21-01 to vacate a portion of Rockwood Road that would have been used with this easement as a continuation of Rockwood Road adjoining Sawmill Road. So you can see that action is captured here down below. This was the portion of right-of-way that was vacated by the board earlier this year. This, in my opinion, is more or less housekeeping at this point, just kind of cleaning this up because there's no intention of Rockwood connecting to Sawmill at this point. So with that, staff recommends approval of minor plan unit development amendment 22-14, noting that condition number 12 has been removed, as well as condition 19, as it's no longer required.
Questions for Jason? Jason, I agree with you. This is a situation that existed for a long time. It's good to see it getting cleaned up. Any other questions for Jason? Hearing none, the chair would address a motion on item number 16.
Mr. Chair, I'd move to approve PU 22-14.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve per staff's recommendation, planned unit development PU 22-14, with the, I believe you removed one condition, so you're down to 17?
Two conditions.
Two?
Yep.
You're down to 16 conditions. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Now we've got item number 17.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve item 17, VE 22-03.
Is there a second? Moved and seconded to approve per staff's recommendation, vacation of easement VE 22-03. Let's see, you can have a, yep, you can have a condition on the house. I was surprised at it. You've got one condition, the register of deeds.
Right, that Exhibit A is
notation.
filed. Mm-hmm.
Okay, discussion. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. We're on to item number 18.
Agenda item number 18 is conditional use permit review 20-24 to review a utility scale solar energy system. The applicant is Greenbacker Capital. Their agent is Bailey Plummer. The owner of the property is Hollis Arlen. They do have their attorney and agent in the audience as well if you have questions for them. Location of the property is south of the intersection of East Highway 44 and South Airport Road. Currently zoned agriculture district. This request does involve two separate properties. They're both zoned agriculture district. Existing land use is agriculture. Access is off of an easement via South Airport Road, and there is special flood hazard area on one of these properties. This conditional use permit was originally approved by the Planning Commission November 9th, 2020. As the properties sit today, for ease of explanation, I labeled those Lot A and Lot B. Lot A, the smaller one, is 160 acres vacant of any structures or utilities. There is a variance on this property to reduce the setback from 25 feet to 0 feet, and that does support this project. The other property is 320 acres. It is vacant of any structures or utilities, and there is special flood hazard area on this property. Staff's analysis of the request is on May 10th, 2021. Staff was notified via email that ownership of the project was transferred from Once River Solar to Greenbacker Capital. On October 18th of this year, staff contacted the property owner and the applicant's agent to inquire about the status of the project. Both stated the use had not been established, but project planning is being actively pursued.
November 1st this year, staff did receive a letter from the applicant's attorney requesting a one-year extension to establish the use due to extenuating circumstances. Condition number 26 has been reworded to omit a letter of credit as an option for surety bonding to specify a timeline for submittal, more or less housekeeping on our end. With that, staff recommends approval of the extension of conditional use permit 20-24 with conditions.
Questions for Jason?
You know, I did a little Bloomberg work this weekend on Greenbacker. It's a big company. And it would appear to me they have the funds at their disposal to do something like this, to finish it through. I mean, to me, it looks like it's a, you know, a good fit at this point.
Okay. Jason, I had one too before we get, by voting on this, I just wanted to make sure that everyone realizes that we are accepting your removal of, or revision in number 26, which is no problem.
Right.
And then secondly, the 1 year extension that was requested, was there 1 year attached to this in the first place, or was it a 2 year?
So it's 2 years to establish the use is what our ordinance says.
That's what I thought. So if we wanted to, we could allow the new company the full 2 years. Is that correct? Or have we gone by what they're requesting, the 1 year?
I think it's the 1
Before
year.
the attorney gets up here.
She's going to jump up here anyway.
Oh,
I believe it's just that.
Yeah, Megan would knock me off the
Yeah,
chair and then it's 1 year again.
And historically, what we've done is the 1 year extension to.
Okay, that's what I'm basically, what have we done? Okay, very good. Didn't just come from the attorney, in other words.
No.
Okay, thank you. And I do believe we have someone that wants to speak on it. Just go ahead, sir, and please introduce yourself just for the record.
Mr. Chair, members of the commission, my name is John Taylor. I'm from Sioux Falls. I'm an attorney. I represent Greenbacker Capital. Thank you for your time today. I'll entertain any questions that the board has. Greenbacker Capital is presently constructing a 80 megawatt nameplate capacity project approximately 5 miles west of Orris at this time. This is the second project that's planned for South Dakota. It'll be a 20 megawatt utility scale. And I think there's another image that shows the layout of the panels. I'm accompanied by Matt Smith. He's a project manager for Fall River Solar, which is being constructed, and also for this for West River Solar. Any questions you have, please let me know.
Questions for John? John, thank you for your patience sitting here. You picked a tough one today. You could tell from, at least you maybe learned something for Take Back Sioux Falls about what's going on with vacation home rentals.
I admire your patience, but I gotta say, it's freezing in here. I'm the only one that's.
Secondly, one of the other things we did on our other project, and I just want to know it before you sit down, since you have the clients here, these things are new. These are very important things to the young people in this county. And I would hope that they make their site available for people to tour it, especially the young. This is the future. This isn't old geezers like me. This is new. So I just want to, if you have their ear, tell them that these kids need to see this stuff and what's happening for the future.
We'll certainly take that back to the project.
Take those thoughts home with them.
We will.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
Mr. Taylor, are you related to Bill Taylor?
I am his progeny.
Okay, well, say hello to Bill for me.
Well, Mr.
We went to college together.
I recognize you. Long time ago.
Okay. Chair to address the motion.
I move we approve CU 20-24, the conditional use permit review.
Second.
Second. Moved and seconded to approve per staff's recommendation approval of extension of CUP 20-24, and it would be for 1 year per Jason's comments.
You want to split the difference?
I can't. I'm just was quizzing them. I don't have any power like that.
Talk to Megan.
Thank you, though. That's a good comment. Thank you. All right. Any other discussion? We didn't have any anyway. All right. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you.
Mr.
We're on
Chair.
to number 19. Are you, Jason, you're 19.
Mr. Chair, I need to excuse myself.
Yes. Kevin had informed, we do have another member that has to leave in a few minutes too. So, Kevin, this is the same item. I'm not going to have you reread everything through it again. I would ask you to please put the recommendation of the staff and any follow-up that's taken place since the last time we heard this.
Sure. Agenda item 19 is conditional use permit revocation 71-04 to revoke the use of an existing mobile home park on the subject property. Applicant is David Allard. Location of the property is 12350 West Highway 44. It is 3.11 acres, currently zoned commercial district. Existing land use is residential and a mobile home park. Access is off Highway 44 West, and there is special flood hazard area and floodway on the property. So updates from the November 4, or since the November 1st meeting where this was continued from. Condition number 2, staff met with the applicant at the Planning and Zoning Office and accurately identified the location of the carport on Lot 1 and validated that it was not within the studied boundaries of the floodway or the special flood hazard area. With that, County Building Permit 20-0542 was approved after that meeting, and condition number 2 of this conditional use permit is now being met. Conditions 3, 5, and 8. On October 31st of this year, staff conducted a site visit with the applicant and his legal counsel to tour the attached stick-built addition, and the following were identified. I'll skip to some pictures here. That no door partition separates the mobile home from the stick-built residence, and that's in these pictures here. So picture on the left is from the stick-built addition to the mobile home. This is the reverse from the mobile home to the stick-built addition. There is no doorway or no door or partition in here. You can see it's finished space with trim and flooring. Next was that one of the rooms, which was converted to an office. So this is his, I believe this is his commercial office for the mobile home park. This is, and a half bath, which I don't think I put a picture of the half bath in, but either way, half bath and one of the rooms was converted to a commercial office. That this office and half bath are separated from the residential addition by an unaffixed piece of sheetrock and a lockable hallway door, which you can see here is the sheetrock and the lockable hallway door. On November 9th of this year, staff met with the applicant again to discuss the option of applying for a planned unit development overlay that would include the mobile home park and the mixed-use building and ending this conditional use permit. As far as condition number 9 goes, during the November 4th, 2022 meeting with staff, the applicant stated that safety concerns raised about the carports tipping over have been addressed by the improvements he's made by adding column weights to each of the carports. And he is in the audience. If you have any questions for him, he can come up and speak to those improvements and his confidence that they won't tip over. So the updated analysis. For this meeting, the applicant has been actively working with staff to resolve outstanding issues identified with this report. I just wanted to pass that along to you guys because I think historically that hasn't been the case, but it is right now. The attached stick-built addition to the mobile home creates a mixed-use structure as it is used for both residential and commercial purposes. Commercial zoning districts do not allow mixed-use structures as a use by right, so another conditional use permit or planned unit development overlay would be required. Staff does believe the best way ahead for the applicant is to apply for a planned unit development overlay that would include the mobile home park and the mixed-use building and ending this conditional use permit. And at the November 9th, 2022 meeting with the applicant, he did indicate to staff that he would apply for that PUD overlay by the December 7th cutoff deadline for us. So that would be heard on December 14th. Currently, the use of a mixed-use structure is not a use permitted on the subject property. Therefore, any building permits or penalty fees associated with this structure will need to be addressed after either the PUD or after the PUD overlay is approved. With that, staff recommends to continue conditional use permit to the December 12th Planning Commission meeting with the following condition: that the applicant applies for a planned unit development overlay by the December 7th, 2022 application deadline.
Questions for Jason? Jason, I think it's good that we're moving forward. I'm not going to say anything else. I think it's a way to move forward. I think we've got to be flexible. I hope the applicant's flexible. A motion from the commission is probably in order to satisfy Jason and the applicant?
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
I would have one question. In regards to those carports and the condition that's not being met currently, did you want the applicant to come forward and talk about that at all? Or how would you like to see the resolution?
I would
on that?
expect to hear during review what our stance is on that at that time, I guess. It's got to meet satisfactory. Weights may or may not meet it. If it's a 3-pound coffee can with concrete, it may not be enough. But if it was a 55-gallon drum with concrete, it might be a lot. So that's where I'm coming from on that. I don't know what the other commission members feel. You want to hear about that as we go forward, or do you want to? I think, in my opinion, I'd like to see this matter resolved, and that gives it more time to get it resolved, I guess is what I'm saying. Is that a good way to put it, Jason? And the carports are certainly in question, still in question in my mind, but it's got to meet some sort of recommendation that would, in fact, keep it from being a safety hazard. Anybody else weigh in? Go ahead.
You're right.
Yeah. Okay.
This enough time, December 12th?
Jason's the one to answer that.
You're comfortable with the December 12th at this point?
Right, for sure. Yeah, I was more or less looking for guidance on the way ahead for what the expectation might be from him, if it's still to get the building permits and to permanently affix them to the ground, or if the waiting that he has out there would be sufficient.
You're looking for direction from us on that,
Yes.
is what you're saying.
Charlie,
Go ahead.
has anyone from planning been out to see the weights?
I was out there.
What do you think?
I think they're substantial. I think that the way that he explained it to me was that when the carport had originally tipped over and caused a hazard, there were no weights on the legs of each one of those carports. He since added those weights. And I would let the applicant come up here and discuss the details of what he did to weight those down, if you'd like to hear that.
I would like to hear that.
Okay. Thank you. Please come up and introduce yourself just for the record and go ahead and we can answer Karen's question, please.
My name's David Allard. I'm from Johnson Siding, lived there for 37 years. The carports, yes, I had an accident with the carport. I just built them. And it was just sitting there and there was no weight. They weren't pinned down. And the weather service said 30-mile-an-hour gusts. And I must have been an 80-mile-an-hour gust and he just flipped it over. Did $300 damage. I put it back together. Since then, I got 600 pounds of concrete weight in each leg. So I got 2,400 pounds. It's like a little car.
Wow.
So they're substantial and they're, I guess, and I apologize for getting this far. I really am. I got a little upset when they did talk about my carports. I thought they were kind of singling me out because, if you want to anchor all the carports in Pennington County, that's fine. But I just thought they were just kind of pushing me. And that's why I kind of backed off for a while, and I apologize. And I definitely want to work with Jason and get all this whole thing resolved. So.
Thank you. We accept that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions? I guess we ought to come up with at least a motion to direct Jason on the carport legs. If we're going to extend this, in other words, he wants a direction from us. I don't know, is our word good enough along here that, as far as I'm concerned, that sort of weight is substantial enough? I'm sure we have other people with a lot less weight than that out there already that they aren't moving. But the truth is, you never know. It's not engineered, and we don't ask our citizens to engineer all these things. We just try to come up with a good idea, and I think that sort of weight is capable of handling a carport.
I do have a question for Mr. Allard. How is that concrete attached to the legs? How is your weight? Each column on each side is like two 2x10s, and inside that I have sandwiched these cement blocks. They're 4x8x16s stacked and glued and strapped. So it's just like one giant concrete column, each leg, very substantial. And like I said, I don't see a problem in the future at all. I guess if it did flip over, there's going to be a lot more damage and a lot of trees down before these things flip over again. Yeah, thank you for that explanation. I mean, if you had 600 pounds holding by a quarter-inch rope,
Yeah.
that's not going to meet your engineering, because all your load's on your rope, not on your concrete. But no, it's literally locked in. It's just like just solid concrete posts. That's what I needed to hear. Thank you. Thanks.
Mike?
Could a variance accomplish what we're trying to do with the carports?
I don't think it needs to go that far, does it?
I don't believe so.
No, as long as we have those applications on file and they're properly filled out, we're pretty much done with carports then, aren't we? If
Well,
we
this-
accept the weight,
Well, the only building permit that he has for the carports is the one that's in the floodplain.
just the one? Okay.
The only one, yeah. The other ones are dimensionally,
Which we've
Less than
resolved
required.
the one that was in question.
Right.
At this point.
right.
Okay. Any other questions? It sounds like the commission is in support of Mr. Allard and his weight.
Okay, so moving forward with the planned unit development, I'll probably not have that as a condition of approval then. That
All
needs
right.
building permits and they're permanently anchored.
Okay.
Thank you for that.
Any other discussion?
I would like to just thank Mr. Allard for stepping up and making this right with everybody.
Okay, we do need a motion. We haven't put one on the table yet, have we? No. Go ahead, Mike.
So I would make a motion that we continue the continued use permit CU 7104 to the December 12th, 2022 Planning Commission meeting.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded to continue. Conditional use permit 71-04 revocation per staff's recommendation to the December 7th, 2022 meeting. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Sorry, Chair, that was December 12th is the next planning commission meeting that it would be scheduled for. So he would have to apply by December 7th to meet our deadline to get on that.
I like the 7th. That was the day I enlisted in the Marine Corps, Pearl Harbor Day. So, anyway, we'll move it to the 12th. Please let the record show that the date the chairman stated was incorrect. It should be the December 12th, 2022 Planning Commission. Thank you for that correction, Jason.
Sure.
All right, I guess we're on to item number 20.
Agenda item number 20 is ordinance amendment 22-12 to amend section 511 fees of the Pennington County zoning ordinance. This is to come in line with the special permitted uses that we had approved at our last meeting for the ordinance amendment. This just adds the fee of $300.
Okay. Any questions for Jason on this one? I don't see any either. I assume it was the red marks. You guys have really been good about that lately. I like that. I got to compliment you. It's a lot easier for me when I'm at home and a little drowsy or I'm watching a football game or something. So, thank you.
Good.
Chair address a motion and we do have sufficient members left to move this forward. It does take a majority.
So this whole thing is considered an ordinance amendment, red letters and everything, okay. Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we accept the ordinance amendment of OA 22-12.
Second.
Moved and seconded to accept ordinance amendment OA 22-12 per the staff's recommendation. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Let the record show that you had 5. Jerry, thank you. Now we're back on to our, 21. Jason, we haven't let him go yet. Okay, we're on to number 21, County Board Report.
So county board report, I think you all have a copy of this. As you can see, things are kind of trending downwards for us at this point. Looks like we're down 24% for our building, for single-family residences. The only thing that seems to be trending up are telecom facilities, removal permits, and garages, carports. Any
Let's
questions
move
for
on.
me?
No items from the public, items from the staff, which would be item 23.
None, sir.
Okay. Executive session. We need a motion for that. Mike?
A motion to go into executive session?
And we got it. Just a moment. Second to that?
Second.
Doesn't that take a 2/3? I'm gonna pass it. It's an interesting one. Yeah. Okay, any discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. We're officially gonna go in executive session for a few. I need a motion to get out of executive session.
Yep.
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded to get out of executive.
Who did the first?
Yeah.
Kevin.
Let's see, where are we? All right. Any discussion on the matter? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. We're down to items from the membership. I have, I hope you all support my PUD anniversary dates. I think it helps us decide some of these things and the validity of the people speaking to us. Number two, I did let you know about Karen and her, some medical issues. Every one of you are important to me as far as members of this commission, so I think that's a good thing that we all think about each other. It's tough sometimes to be set up here, and I'm sure you guys get hate phone calls once in a while too. Do you? And then last, I had that I wanted to bring up today about that. Requesting the Board of Commissioners review whether we put together a bylaw about abstention as a member. Let's put that on our October calendar. I think it's a good idea to have a set format for abstention in regards to voting and speaking. I thought Ron brought an excellent topic up there, and we should have it all set up what a member should and shouldn't do in the procedure.
And do we have bylaws guiding
Yes,
our?
we do have bylaws. If you don't
The
have a
planning
copy,
commission.
Jerry can get you a copy.
Yeah, I have it. I think I do.
So you probably want that on the December meeting, not the October one?
Yes, that's right. Correct. Sorry. Yeah. Anyway, only because I think it's something that we can forward. We cannot act upon it. The Board of Commissioners are the ones in control of the bylaws. But we can make a recommendation, as Megan put it, to them that this wouldn't be a bad thing to put in place so that all future commissions have to follow this same procedure. People see this on what they're even going to see it on YouTube now. They don't understand when a commissioner has abstained, that they're no longer speaking as a commissioner. They have the right to speak. We can't remove the right to speak of any commissioner, whether they're for or against something. But we can't ask them to abstain. However, just so you know, and I pointed it out at that meeting, the whole commission could not vote and say that commissioner has to abstain from an issue. It's up to the decision of the commissioner, just so you know. All right, very good. Chair, take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Moving second to adjourn. No discussion. Everybody aye.
Aye.
Thanks. I got it.